Welcome to the August 28th meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. Will you please stand? We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's around here somewhere. John's not here yet. He is coming, but he's not here yet.
Okay, we're going to skip to the third item on the agenda while we wait for our moderator, John Foss, to arrive. So you're just in the nick of time, Benji. Because you're next. DPW update.
Well, I guess there isn't a whole lot of different items to update you on. Mountain Road's obviously the project of the summer, and it's going along all right. Hard to get enough trucks, that's the problem. That's what's taking so long.
How'd you get enough what?
Trucks to haul gravel.
Oh.
We're 2 guys short, and it's vacation time, and we've hired a couple of trucks, but it's just so far up there, you know. I've been getting a lot of grief about it from certain people, but it hasn't quite been 3 full months since that's been tore up. And I just come home from out west, and there's parts of I-90 that's tore up this year that was last year, so that's been a whole year. So I don't think 3-4 months is all that bad. The longer it's tore up, the better compaction we'll have. So I think it's going along fine. There's a little grumbling about it.
What's the timeline on putting the pavement down?
Well, I kind of made a promise to a big logger that I'd have it done by October 1st because they have a showing on the town piece on the second week of October. And I want the pavement down before then.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to work along this Thursday, Friday. Most of my crew's taking the long weekend and extend it, so I don't know if I'll be hauling any gravel in 2 days. But tomorrow and Wednesday we'll go like crazy and see where we get. Had a couple big culverts in town give me problems. Norris Road, not Norris Road, Twin Bridge Road, just past Norris Road. Well, really just past Old Town Road. That's been settling. For a temporary fix, I shimmed it with the grader. I'll have to replace that sometime. Colby Road, we got them steel plates still there. It's perfectly safe, but I'll have to fix that before winter. Been keeping up with pothole patching and road grading best we could. Trying to clean inlets and outlets and culverts with our backhoe that we rented as time provides.
Board members have questions?
I have a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Colby Road, that's going to be finished before the winter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the bamboo?
Not much you can really do with it without spreading it.
Well, I know that like Donnie Bovier and Bill Tiffany used to cut it every year.
You can, I guess.
I mean, it's getting really bad, especially up here on Memorial Drive. And
It's going to seed, so the more you fool with it, the more it's going to spread.
Yeah, I don't know.
It needs to be.
The state doesn't touch it until after.
It needs to be.
Seeded and gone.
It needs to be sprayed.
Into September.
End of September?
Yeah, the
Okay.
state will even be touching it.
Needs to be sprayed, and trying to spray out here is one of my previous jobs when I was younger. I sprayed invasive species out west, which not weed would fall under that. And there's a certain chemical for a certain plant wherever you go. And I'm still working on getting more educated about the bamboo and finding out what chemicals we can use that won't hurt other things. It's very tough out here. For one, you get a lot of resistance from the public because they don't like to see that. And for two, we have lots of trees and stuff. So that's really the only thing that's going to kill that stuff.
I know Bill.
We have spread it more than anybody because we didn't know that much about it. So we spread it lumen, we have spread it mowing, we have spread it cutting it, we spread it trying to run it over. So we've spread it. And I think the state of Maine sprays it, and they've really done a number on it. But I want to be real careful before we enter into that. You got to have the proper licensing, which I don't have yet. But we've cut a couple intersections stuff that's been troublesome.
Yeah, I know that.
I try to refrain from it unless it's really dangerous, because you just take the chance of spreading it worse. It's terrible in this town. It's awful. But I think we did it. mowing it and stuff.
The other area that's really bad is right up at the top here,
Mm-hmm.
before you go up the hill where everybody's trying to,
Yeah,
because there's that gully that goes over to the right by the guardrail.
yeah.
and it's kind
Reservoir
it is
Drive's another
dangerous
bad one.
there.
1 inch of root will grow 3 new stalks. So if you
Yeah.
take an excavator or tear it up of any aspect, you can imagine an area the size of your table, how many new stalks that'll shoot up. So I'm very cautious about it. I look at it every day. It bugs, like, Dickens out of me, but I don't know what to do about it yet.
And I think while you were out, I asked the question about going out to bid for the sand and gravel or the crushed
Crushed gravel.
gravel up on Mount.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I didn't know anybody in town had a pile big enough to gravel that road other than Mount William. There's a state spec, and they're on the state bid list, so there's nothing against anybody else. I didn't know anyone else had enough to do it. You need about 2,800 yards to do that job.
What
And
about
I can show up anytime. I don't call. When I have trucks enough, I ship them down there, and when I don't show up. So it's a full-time operational pit, and lots of towns have Henniker's crushed stone, for instance. They're a state bid pit. Mount Williams, there's 50 of them in the state. I don't remember them all, but obviously that's the one in Weare. Anybody else had some to prove to them the state's back? It's not that I have anything against anyone else, but to my knowledge, there was anyone else had none.
Maybe can we check into it? And
We can, but I gotta keep hauling.
oh, I don't mean that. I mean, obviously now it's down to the end, so.
I got probably
Yeah.
less than half of the road left to do, so I probably got another 1,000 yards to haul.
Yeah. Oh, I know you're hauling.
We're working on it, we're working on it. Not fast enough for my liking, but we're
Yeah.
working on it.
No.
If everybody could be patient, I appreciate it. We've had some people get awful angry at my workers, and I don't think that's very fair to them, so.
The only thing I did notice is there was some vehicles that went by with the covers and others that.
Yeah, not all the tarps are operational, and I know that, but it's on my list of things to do. We've had a hard time keeping the trucks running to haul, never mind. I don't want to say little things like that, because that's not a little thing, but,
Not if it hits
We-
somebody's vehicle.
no, but it's been hard enough to keep rear ends and transmissions and things. So, it's on the list of things to do. I'm hoping when the road job's done, Tom has, time. We're not running the trucks, breaking them every day. I'm hoping he has time to do things like that. But, I don't know. I don't think a tarp holds a rock in anyhow.
When you get into something like a transmission, you have to send it out, don't you? Or do you have that replaced in-house?
We did the one in the Mac in February, January. Tom put it in.
You did?
Yeah. He can do everything I need him to do, but we can't do it all sometimes. I sent a clutch out 2 weeks ago to Sizemore because he was rebuilding the rear end in the truck, and the other bay was in and out. My short 10-wheeler's been having electrical transmission problems. We bought a new tool that scans it so he can tell what's wrong with it. But so you get a 3-4 day job because it turns into 3-4 time you order parts and all that business. He can do it all, just to keep trucks enough. Sometimes I try not to send nothing out, but sometimes we do.
One last question, the crushed stone that we have now, is it our own? That can't be used up there, or?
The base is,
Okay.
it did come from our pit.
Okay.
Had it made special for that. And it's pretty bony. That's why you're getting complaints about the cobbly ride, but it'll make one heck of a base.
Mhm.
It's hard. So once we get it covered over with the better stuff, for a better ride, it'll make a road for a very, very long time. It has got a lot of rock in it, which is okay, but it's rough riding for now. That come out of our pit. The other stuff is for our dirt roads, and it could be used on a gravel, on a paved road. We're running out of crush, frankly, out of gravel in our pits. And, we'll buy some and use some of our own, I guess. We got to continue to add to our gravel roads year to year because snow plowing and normal traffic and stuff beats the crush off of dirt roads.
I know you're just getting back, but have you put any thought into where you might allot the new funds that we're gonna talk about tonight as far as, or would you rather just wait until you get a complete plan for next year before I ask you that?
I put lots of thought into it. I weren't sure how we were gonna get the money or we were gonna be able to accept it until a little while ago, so. I would like to do some paved road maintenance with it, you know, some shims and overlays and things of that nature. We have, you know, our two main roads that we go pothole patching on a lot are Reservoir and River Road, and I believe both of them have a good base under them, so I'd like to, I did almost a mile on each road of overlay this year. And I'd like to maybe do a little more on them. Hate throwing your road names out. I think Walker Hill's been promised for 4 years. Tim promised a couple of years, and I've promised for a couple of years, and we still haven't made it. So I'd like to at least do that hill. But everybody, road is most important to them. I've been getting lots of phone calls. It's only $236,000, which is great, but that doesn't go too far, so I can't do them all.
Well, that's, what, a little over a mile of road, and you had to grind it down?
If you had done
to
it like
nothing?
we're doing Mountain Road, yeah. So that's why I don't really want to dedicate it to a road job like that, because it won't go very far. I'd like to. I've been checking into some chip coating. There's some classes coming up this fall I want to take, and I'd like to get with you folks, see if any of you are interested in taking, about road maintenance and or preservation, I should say. And every 10 years or so, you should do something with your paved road that you put a lot of money into. Instead of rebuilding it like we're doing Mountain Road and forgetting about it for 20 to 30 years and then rebuilding it all over again, you could put an inch overlay on it, or you could. I like chip coating. They do that where I come from, and I think it works great. But there's many avenues to go down. I'd like to spend a little money every year and start doing a couple miles of road to roads that we put lots of money. So I did that on River Road. We put a lot of money in that section of River Road about 15 years ago. And so I put 1.5 inches on top, and that should be good for another 15 years. I'd like to continue that
Is
process.
there anything around here that has that chip coating on it?
Sunapee.
Yeah, Antrim does it.
Sunapee did it a few years ago with that new.
Hamilton, Dublin,
Dublin,
Yeah,
yeah.
they did that with that new process about 5-6 years ago that just came out. It's a little more aggressive, so it takes the plow edges down a little quicker, but
Little.
it
I guess the
lasts.
traction is phenomenal in
Yeah.
winter, is what they were telling me.
Yeah, put it around
I checked into it for Hodgen Road. It's about 7,000 feet. We put a lot of money in that. That road's still in good shape for as old as it is, but it's starting to crack a little. So they suggested doing, they call a fiber mat chip coat. And it all comes down in one layer, but they lay hot tar, oil, shredded fiberglass, hot oil, and chip all in one, and it presses right over it. And that fiberglass kind of seals the cracks up. That's a little more expensive than if we'd have got on it 5 years ago before there was cracking. We could have just done the chip. I'd like to try that fiber mat on Hodgen. It's about, they quoted me around $50,000, do 7,000 feet, so that's half a road.
So that would do the whole Hodgson?
Yeah.
Yes.
How's the new truck? Upper 10?
Well, wasn't scheduled till October 1st, so I took it up in hopes they would bump it up.
If it's there, they might be able to do something with it, right?
Right.
So,
This has got something, probably nothing to do with the highway too. 10 years ago, we replaced the compactor, transfer station, 2007.
Trash compactor?
Yes.
They rebuilt it, right?
No,
It was a new replacement?
it was a complete replacement.
Okay.
And at that point, they requested, half-life, which is 10 years. It needs to be checked out, refurbished, with wear rails,
Mhm.
within this year, which didn't get done. That's probably something you want to check into.
Yeah, I can do
Your
that.
budgeting for next year,
Yeah.
keep that up to date. And I know the oil was changed
last year?
for the first time 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So that's probably,
It was changed a long time ago, because I remember them barrels sat out in Randy's Bay for that till they
Tim
rotted
did
and
it.
we had to burn
Tim
the
did
oil.
it.
But
Tim did it, I think,
He did it
4 years
again?
ago, so you might want to check in that too.
because that's
Just giving you.
300-400 gallons, isn't it?
have 250 gallons, I think. So that's just something we might want to check
Yeah.
with the East Coast and see if they still recommend more than that much.
Changing the hours.
Yep.
Yep.
Jane, anything else? Guess we're good.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
John?
John Foss, Emery Lane. Anyway, we're here to talk again about the Finance Committee, and I have been in contact with Lori Davis and asked her to make some contacts with the previous members. I've drafted a letter that I meant to bring with me tonight, but I couldn't get the printer working or the computer working or the thumb drive working, so I didn't bring it. But essentially it says that I'd like you to, I'm going to send it out to the members, and I'd like you to think about in terms of how we can be more open with the members of the community and provide them with as much information as possible. My understanding is that the attorney, town council has been had issues discussed with her, and she says that I can't simply say that we're going to televise the meetings. But apparently I can use open communications and means of how to do that as a criteria for choosing members of the Finance Committee. So I will be employing that process and having a conversation with all the members, present members and future members of the Finance Committee.
Any questions or comments? I'll repeat what I've said many times, and that is that I'm wholeheartedly in support of televising, and because the Finance Committee holds so much of a say in that budgeting process, that to make it as open and transparent as possible, not just the decisions which appear in their minutes, but the interplay among members
Right.
that leads to those decisions.
Right. And I think it also lends itself to providing for a much more civil interplay between members of any board. I used to record my faculty meetings, and I found a huge difference between the meetings that I had not recorded before and the meetings that I did record after. They were almost enjoyable, but I won't go that far. Anyway.
Is that from the principal's point of view or the teacher's?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I think it has a lot of value, and so we'll see how we can do that. I also think that we need to pursue a possible warrant article and make it part of the rules and regulations of the town that it simply will be, and the Finance Committee will be a part of that. I think town council can help us a great deal in drafting that, and that will eliminate this issue entirely. So,
You all set? Thank you, John.
thank you.
Beth, can you cover it in 10 minutes?
You all have revenues, I believe, in front of you.
Okay, all right, we're looking at our second review of these revenues. We'll have one more chance when we set the tax rate in October to look at them one more time. Okay, so looking at the report, 2015 actuals is in column 1, 2016's actuals are in column 2. When we met in January, our 2017 estimated revenues was in column 3. The 4th column is where we stand today, and the 5th column is just some suggested projections where I'd like to see them. Okay, the first 4 items, lines 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are all tax-related revenues outside of property taxes. So we're looking at current use. We estimated about $14,000, and so far we have 8,800, and I believe we're going to get to about 14 before the year's end. There we go. Right. Timber yield. I'm assuming we're going to receive about $30,000 this year. We've already received close to 28. Excavation tax, estimated where we are today, because usually that is done by the end of summer. And the interest and penalties on property tax, I brought it down to 140, because last year, September through December, we only brought in 20,000. So going forward, if we bring in another 20,000. Unfortunately, those 4 items, they're tax related. I haven't had an opportunity to reconcile with the tax collector since March, so those might be changed a little bit. But my reports are showing that this is hopefully where we'll be at the end of the year.
Does that,
Thomas' question.
interest and penalties, is that a number of interest and penalties levied, or what we actually expect to collect in interest and penalties?
What we collect.
What we collect.
Yeah. Just on property tax, timber tax, current use, those things. The next 4 items are motor vehicle related to registrations. Maureen gave me these estimated projections. I might have changed a few of them, but not in this category. Motor vehicle permits, she's expecting 1.8 million. Last year, September through December, we did another $500,000, so she's assuming we're going to make that mark this year. The agent fees, we're really close on 40,000 every year, so we kept that at 40. And the boat registrations, pretty much done for the year, she's believing, so we're going to keep it at 3,000. Code enforcement building permits, line 12. We estimated at 45. We believe we will get there by year end. Last year, September through December, we brought in 26,000. So we're pretty confident we can make the 45,000 by year end. The next 6 items again are tax town clerk revenues. What she believes by year end that she will be collecting vital revenues. She brought it down from 1,700 to 1,500. Dog licenses and group, kept it at what we've received so far. Licenses and town fees, she's keeping it at what we've received thus far, along with dog license and seniors, dog fines, and dog license penalties. She's keeping it. Usually all that's brought in April and May, so. The next 6 items are from the state and federal government. The meals and rooms tax, that number is exactly what we brought in last year. The DRA wants us to plug in that number until October when they have a definite number, and they'll let us know that by tax rates time. The highway block grant, I did change that because we did get our numbers in, so that's what we expect by year end. State and federal forest land, that's what the forest land, that's what we've received. Flood control reimbursement, same thing like in rooms and meals tax. We plug in the number we received last year and DRA will give us our number by October. The FEMA state, 1,160. So far we've received $1,000 for Chief Kelly for that little Louisville training that he did. We got a reimbursement, and I received a refund from SRO for $160, which is an old refund back when we had an SRO. So that's all I'm seeing that we're going to receive this year. What else? So we have 3 more state and federal. Payment of lieu and taxes, that's for the federal lands, $4,400 we've received thus far. And forest fire reimbursement, I don't see much more coming in. Last year and the year before, we had majority of 2015 and 16 was I had to invoice for fire starters, people who started fires that I invoiced them and got reimbursed. So far this year, it's all just small forest fires. The last 4 items on that. Oh, you're on a different page, sorry. Okay, so lines 36 and down is all our other charges that we receive in this building. So junkyard licenses, it's $50. Recording fee reimbursement, we've received so far $16. I'm assuming we'll at least get one more for $33. Protest fees, that is a charge for when a check bounces, and we charge them to reprocess it. Assuming one more. The photocopy receipt, actually we had one just this last week that'll increase that one, but once we get to October, we'll look at that line again. The miscellaneous, there is none I'm expecting. The school reimbursement for elections, that was reimbursed from the schools for the election, so that's $3,504. Assessing photocopy, in 2016 I was receiving the assessing photocopy money because I wanted to keep it separate so we could see how much time Wendy was using making photocopies to see if going online was going to be beneficial. So this year, the town clerk is now accepting her photocopies, so you'll see that in another line. Protest fees for the town clerk, she's estimating $400. The next few lines are for land use. $500 for lot line adjustment, $3,000 for site plan review, subdivision lots, $1,000. A lot of these are what we estimated them to be in January, with a minor change. Recording fees, $450. Postage reimbursement, reduced that from $3,000 to $2,000. And the ZBA hearing fees, reduced that to $200. Those items I starred so that we can review them again in October. So I think by then we'll probably get a closing of what's going on in that department. Pistol permits, obviously reduced that to $550. It's no longer required. Police reports, we only estimated $50, but police department is now requesting that I invoice for right to know requests because they have gotten quite large. So I invoice them for copies made. So so far to date, we've brought in $395 just for copies, and I expect $500 by the end of the year. Police witness fees, that's for when our officers have to go to court. I'm assuming a little more revenue for that. The town ordinance violations, this one's kind of interesting in recent events. We estimated about $1,500. I was accepting the parking violations up in my office for purposes of counting the revenue as the ticket was written. We've had an incident recently that the town clerk was also receiving the fees. So her line in that is a little larger. We're straightening that out. Special registration fees, I haven't received any fees so far for sex offenders being registered, but I'm assuming those will be coming in October for the 2 that we've had recently. Fire detail revenues, right now we've only received $810, but it sounds like there's going to be 10 games coming up for the football, and those are 2 hours each. So we'll be receiving detail revenue for that. Mechanical permits, I'm increasing a little bit because last year, September through December, we brought in over $2,000 more, assuming we'll do it again this year. Fire reports, those are only $10 a piece. Maybe we'll have a couple more before the year end, but I don't think we're going to reach $100. Paramac intercepts, we didn't budget anything for this, but we were able to invoice a town for the use of our paramedic this time. Instead of seeing that going out, it's coming in. And then the next few items are the transfer station. The metal, we estimated we were gonna see about $20,000. We believe we're gonna see that this year by year end. We have 10 more loads, maybe 12 that are gonna go out. Transfer station tin, we budgeted 13, obviously we already brought in 1,700. So we're gonna estimate about $2,000, at least one more load is going out. Recycled newspaper, we budgeted 6,000. Fortunately, we already got 8,500. We're estimating about 13. However, the price of newspaper just dropped significantly. It was $87.50 a ton in the beginning of the year, and now it's only down to $17 a ton.
Wow.
But we're hoping it's temporary, and the price will go back up. Recycled cardboard, we estimated about 9,000. We only got 7,600 so far, but that price did skyrocket in the beginning of the year. That was only 2 loads that you see there, so one goes down, the other goes up.
It's all right.
The waste hauler license, we're only gonna get 3 this year. Zeroed out battery disposal. Recycled plastics, reduced that from 15,000 down to 10. We have 2 loads to go, and up at the transfer station, I believe they're trying something new, and they're separating the 1s and 2s, and those are ready to go out. If not, they'll be going out shortly, so we should get more for one instead of putting them all together. So we're hoping we'll see 10,000 by year end. The aluminum cans, we budgeted 15,000, and we're gonna hope to get 16 by the end of the year. 2 more loads hopefully are ready to go. The stuffed furniture and the bedding, we estimate about 6,500. We're at 3,900 now. I believe we'll be at 6,500 at the end of the year. The ash credit, that is exactly what we got, 42,470, and that's the last of it. We won't be receiving that ash credit again. Human services reimbursement. We didn't estimate anything because we don't know who's going to be kind and reimburse us for aid, but we received already $496 this year for people reimbursing us for help. So I'm assuming we're going to see a little bit more before the year end. Chase Park receipts has been doing great. We estimated 13,000. We've received 12,500 so far. Still have a couple good weeks left, hopefully. Hopefully the sun will shine. Swimming registrations, I believe those will be closed. So $760, which is good. The boat fees, we estimate about 5,700. We only got 4,500 this year, so I reduced it down to 5. We might have some last minute people that want to get out there, but I think we'll get much more. The cable franchise fee, by year end, we should be at our 78,000. If not, by October, we'll have a more concrete number. Parking violations, this is where the town clerk is receiving her revenues for that. The rabies clinic donation, that is $539 is what we've received. Dog tag replacement, she's estimating we're not going to get any more. Miscellaneous town clerk fees, she's estimating about $1,600 more than we have now, which is higher than we estimated back in January. UCC filing fees, we've increased our estimated revenues there. Photocopy receipts, I was expecting that number to be higher. She estimated 1,200, looks like she's bringing it down to 9.
Can I interrupt you for a minute?
Yeah, go right ahead, please.
Anybody here waiting specifically for the hearing and
Try to talk fast.
can't wait, because otherwise 5 minutes we're going to be finished here and we'll just start the hearing at about 7:10 unless somebody needs to speak and has to leave. Anyone?
I was trying to talk fast. Sorry. So postage reimbursement, that's for the town clerk. She estimated 700. She believes she'll get 900 by year end. The lease to sugar and spice, that's a monthly payment. Protest fees, I'm trying to consolidate our accounts to clean it up a little bit. So you'll see on line 37 is where I'm actually recording those, because we seem to have lines duplicated throughout the budget. Trying to clean them up. The rent of town property, we estimate about $1,200. We'll probably see that by year end. And then, haven't received anything for the sale of lots in cemetery or the cornerstone reimbursements. Sale of town property, we only estimated about 2,000. We've already received 20,000 to date. I expect at least 23,600 by year end because we have a payment planned with someone who's paying $1,000 a month. Interest on investments, it's going to go, we estimate about 3,500. When I wrote the 4,500, that was being very conservative because I know already for August that we're going to have 1,700 added to that. So by October, I'll probably increase that number again because our interest on our savings account, our checking account's been crazy. We got $1,700 just for August. Insurance reimbursement property, no longer going to be using that line. Insurance miscellaneous reimbursement, won't be using that line. Miscellaneous revenue, obviously we never budget for receiving anything in that line. We received 2,900 so far. We had an email exchange reduction through AppRiver. They gave us a refund. And I had a refund from New Hampshire Retirement System from 2016, so I had to apply it to that line. Revenue from the library, because of their budgeting process, they have to show $4,000 coming from a trust. So therefore, there's an offsetting revenue for $4,000 to wash out. So we have to budget for that. And the last few items are from the trustee Cypre. We budgeted $20,000 due to the warrant article. So far, they've only used $46.71. So whatever they expense out on the expense side shows up in the revenue side. So it's all a wash with that line. Same thing with the conservation. The taxpayers gave them $150,000 to use of their own money. So it comes from the expense, washes out in the revenue. The fire department vehicle replacement, it's going to be $85,360, which is the ambulance lease payment, and $10,000 for ambulance billing. Again, that's coming from a special revenue fund. Whatever the expense is, reimburses us. And last but not least is the general fund balance that the voters allowed $107,184 for the cruisers. So that's coming from the general fund balance. And lastly, it's just the sewer rents, whatever the expense is, the revenue comes in. Any questions? No? Again, you'll be seeing it again in October, so it's good to have this little review now, this little preview now. Because once in October, when we set the tax rate.
The totals you'll be submitting to the state as your.
Yes, it's as an estimated revenue, and then when she calculates the MS1 and the MS535, she'll give it back to us one more time to say, do you want to make any changes to the revenue at this point?
So this will be on the MS, what?
This is the revenues.
Yeah.
The final one in October will be on the 535. But this one's our estimated revenues.
Oh, they just.
It's a different number.
Yeah, we're on the 434 for revenues, if that's what you're looking for.
Anybody else have questions?
So I guess with that being said, there is no, the MS 434 doesn't need to be signed by you, so it just needs to be sent in. So I just want, are you guys all set? It has to be in by September 1st, so that's what okay.
Or do you want a motion or a vote?
Yeah, if you can just do the bottom line of $3,483,776 is what I'm going to submit to DRA.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
And that will be the amount that goes in on the MS 434.
MS 434.
Correct.
Thank you. Are you going to
All in
vote?
favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, I'm now going to open a public hearing in accordance with the provisions of RSA 3195B as authorized by the vote on Article 11 of the 1994 town meeting for the purpose of hearing public testimony and comment regarding the acceptance of $237,654.30 as an additional appropriation of highway block grant funds in accordance with the provisions of Senate Bill 38. The funds are additional grants under RSA 235-23I to be used for highway construction, reconstruction, or maintenance purposes. Is there anything you'd like to say in relation to this, Ben? Thank you.
No, I guess not. I'm kind of excited to have a stimulant to our road program without direct impact the rest of us, I guess. Still plan on asking for my 480 this year, so with another 237, that gives us quite a bit of paving we can do next year. Try to spend it as wisely as I can and give us a half a year boost on things. Be nice.
Naomi, my understanding is that this can be carried into next year
Yep.
without any
Absolutely.
additional action of the voters.
That's right. Right.
Yeah, no, that's great, because my phone's been ringing off the hook, of course, all the paving guys. I just told them all no. I can't imagine we would get best pricing this year. I want to do like we did this year and get it out very early next year. And early bird gets warm. I got some phenomenal prices this year by being early, so I'll plan through the winter what I want to do. And we might do a couple little itty-bitty things, but plan on trying to spend it next year. Most of it.
Any questions? Is there anyone who would like to speak to this?
I have a couple of questions about it. I think it's great the state came up with the money. I'm a little reluctant to ask questions because somebody has to know ahead of time what the question is to have the answer. I've been shot at before. How was the public hearing warned to the people? I mean, I just found out about it because somebody told me it was on the minutes. I mean, sorry, on the agenda. Supposed to be a couple of weeks ahead of
It's
time?
posted.
Yeah, it was put in the Union Leader.
Okay, all
Yep.
right, I don't get.
I paid for the advertisement.
Okay, all right. I'm not being critical, I was
Oh,
just
no, I
curious.
didn't mean to be.
And I meant to look
Yep.
at the bulletin board out there, probably
Okay.
out there. too.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay. And I heard Benji, he just mentioned he plans to ask for the 480 again in your article. Is that level funded from last year? Is that what was last year's? Okay. Okay. I have to plead ignorant to that dollar amount. My comment was going to be that I've read about this money, and they say it can't be used for tax relief. And my suggestion to the board, but Benji's already kind of committed to that, is to level fund that article, not to have this money from the state and then ask for, $500,000 from the taxpayers. So I appreciate, that it's level funded, at least. Then that way it won't be more tax money. And then,
Are you saying tax money 237 to match the 237?
no,
No, that's what he doesn't want.
No, I
No,
know, that's.
no, actually,
No,
I'd
that's what I'm saying.
I'd prefer to really to give tax relief,
No, I
is to ask for less than 480,000. Like about $80,000 less.
Makes it.
But I knew that wouldn't fly.
He's
And
gonna
if I
have
was sitting here,
480
I'd
plus
propose it.
237.
Right,
Yeah.
right, that's understandable.
So, I appreciate that. And then I'm curious to know, I think I heard you say, what is the expectancy, when time frame that this can be used?
It can be used immediately, but also
Right.
through 2018.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. And I guess I'll ask through the board, I'd like maybe Benji to answer. Is that time enough to, put a plan in place to, to spend that money?
I think so. I got some really good ideas. I just don't get pricing and put things together.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. And I guess through you, but I'll look at him also, look at Benji also. And I know, again, I'm not being sarcastic, but it's probably not a lot of money. But, is it too much money to try to spend that you guys can't do that type of workload, or?
No, because I think a lot of it can be wisely spent on paving.
Okay, which you don't. August. Okay, yeah, I guess you
I hope to
mentioned
spend
that.
a lot of it on paving,
Okay,
unwasteful paving. I don't plan on just going and doing a toilet, like I said, a road that,
okay.
I know has a good base on there, or something of that nature.
Okay.
I still
I-
plan on only doing a road a mile and a half a year of reconstruction. That's, all the time we have to do that kind of project. So I wouldn't plan on putting too much more on our workload. I would.
And this is probably not, well, it's germane to the money. I don't know if it can be applied. But can any of this amount of money be applied to bridge work? I know we have a couple of culverts, or well, one called a bridge, but it's a culvert, and then I guess
I guess
have to take it to
statutorily,
you.
yes.
Pardon me?
Statutorily, it does allow for you, because part of that, it said SB 28 funding can be used for portions of local highways such as sidewalks, drainage, pavement marking, traffic signals, guardrail, and bridges,
Okay,
on top of road reconstruction.
okay.
Yeah.
Just commenting on that, Frank, our long-term plan here is, starting last year, there was a warrant article for, I think it was 103,000, something like that, to put aside as a bridge replacement fund, capital reserve. And the plan, we haven't discussed it, but when we discussed it last year, I know the plan was to continue that, so that if you're looking at the River Road Bridge, which probably is gonna have to replace it entirely in 5 or 6 years, but then the Lowell Road and the old Francistown Road bridges, or large culverts, what do you wanna call them, we could go for those soon and take whatever our share would be out of that money that we're saving toward bridge replacement. So for example, whatever the 20% share, if we got state funding, say for Lowell Road, whatever the 20% share would be for the town, we would have it in hand for this coming year if the money was available from the state. So that allows us to be ready when the state is ready. And even this last year, if we had been ready because some other towns were not able to appropriate the money they needed, we could have gotten one of those smaller bridges done, but there was too much else going on to do that. But we can be prepared this year and look into it. If the money's there, then our end of it will be there. So our long-range plan is to make sure that there is the money in that fund for the smaller projects, but then leading toward that big one on River Road. And unfortunately, who knows what the state might find at some other bridge during that 5 or 6 year period that needs work or replacement.
Just, Tom, too, another example of what you could use it for, Frank, is some of the communities that got money might be able to use it as a match that wasn't successful at their town meeting, because it says Senate Bill 38 funding can be used as a match for a municipal bridge project or phases of a project that do not have local funding already available. So that's another, for the communities that didn't get it. I don't know what every community's doing, but you know what I mean? That is a possibility, because we got what we could do with it from DOT.
Yeah.
And to follow what Tom said, that bridge, the state funded bridge contribution, the town has to have that 20% on hand. If the town comes into a red, the state comes into a red listed bridge and says, yeah, that's great, we'd love to help you out, but you have to have the 20% up front, and we can't give them an IOU, unfortunately.
Yeah, no,
So-
I understand that.
Right.
The reason for my question, I know what you say about paving, it eats up a lot of money quick, but I didn't know if it might be worth a discussion, a positive discussion, and maybe take a little portion of that money to put towards bridge. That would, also help, on the taxpayer end. We wouldn't get as much road done, which might come, full circle and bite us. But I just thought it might be worth it. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Anybody else speaking to the state funding, highway funding?
Good evening, Richard Buck. I just have a question about accountability and how this is going to be managed financially. I noticed in the town report that there's provisions for revision for revenue and expenditures. And in the case of bridges and roads and streets, it's all lumped into one number. I would ask that maybe if someone could look at that to break it out so we have revenue and expenditures for bridges and a revenue and expenditures for roads and road reconstruction. The town report says highway, street, bridges, and underneath it, it has highway and streets, street lighting, and other, whatever other is. And it shows a lump sum for highway and streets. And last year it was $1.29 million, I'm rounding it off, and we expended $1.26 million. That's more than the amount we appropriated for the highway block grant, so maybe it includes the bridge money.
Yeah. Beth, for that warrant article for highways, you keep a separate accounting of that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's not included in that at all, the road reconstruction. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's all the operating budget. This is, yep, 480 was approved and 480 was spent. This is all just operating budget.
And is this the amount of money that's being received now, is that going to be tracked separately since it go through 2018? Is it going to be commingled with the amount we're receiving through the highway block grant, or is it going to be separated out?
We haven't had that discussion, but from an accounting purpose, what do you think?
Yeah. Because
That's all
it's
I have.
not part of our general fund balance, it's going to be subcategorized into our committed fund balance. It'll show up in our fund balance, but it's committed. You can't use it for anything except for what the SB 38 told you to use it for. So I will be tracking it separately in a whole separate fund, all the expenses that come from that. If you want, we could separate it out just like I did the warrant article. But it has to be kept separate, so we can't use it to offset our taxes come October. So it'll be definitely accounted for separately. And I'm sure all our accountants are going to be watching that we do that.
Anyone else? Anyone else before Frank has, you're welcome to come up, but just if somebody hasn't spoken, then let them speak first. Okay, go ahead.
Being too presumptuous.
Too anxious.
Anxious. Just a question for the last discussion, for the last comment. I think back of the latest and greatest bridge bond money that we had some years back. I believe it was actually carried in the general fund at the time, and how it was tracked, you know, who knows. But this money, if it's tracked differently, does it get invested at all?
I don't think so, no.
No?
You don't have it that long.
Yeah, I was just thinking if it was invested, you know, there'd be some type of minimal.
$12, but.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. So okay.
I can comment on that, just that it's going to be in our general fund, so it is in the bank, it is collecting interest as part of our general fund. The general fund is broken up into 5 different categories. You just see one number. Accounts payable, because it's committed, you can't spend it on, you know, offsetting taxes. It's not going to be in a separate fund, but again, it's in the bank, it is collecting
So,
interest.
yeah, so, right.
Yeah.
But I was thinking something above and beyond that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Anyone else? If there is no one else, then I will close the public hearing at 7:25 and accept a motion to accept this funding from the state.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that 5?
Yes.
I was just going to suggest suggest that we do it for road reconstruction,
What?
to do it for the road reconstruction or construction, rather than, I mean, and for the bridge too. I mean, there are other things we can put into it, right? That was all I was gonna suggest.
So in other words, you wanted to narrow the motion to be specific to road
Right.
reconstruction. Anybody else want to comment?
Well, I
on
think that that's kind of laid out in the SB 38 documentation of what the potential uses of it. You know, you can't use it for buying rakes and shovels.
Right.
It says what you can do it right in that.
But I thought there was an article about Henniker probably trying to get a plow for their sidewalks, which is.
And you can,
Yeah.
but that's an example, but I think,
Rather than having
Yeah.
equipment.
because it said it can be used, it's necessary, but it's totally dedicated
Yes.
to the maintenance of local highways.
Mhm.
If they want to, I guess another town wants to run the risk and play that game, that's not us, but, you know,
That's the only reason why.
yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, you don't want to, I wouldn't want to narrow it too much, because let's just suppose that one of these culverts or bridges totally collapsed. And so we would have to put it in an emergency situation into replacing that, say, the Low Road Bridge. There really, the way wording has been made in the motion, there wouldn't be any problem in that if it needed to be. If we narrowed it more, there might be an issue with it. So, any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Did you say? Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from August 14th. Anyone have anything on page 1? Page 2, I had 2 small things. In the very first line, I just crossed out the word having. The board discussed putting a brief non-public session at the end. Just not having putting, but just putting. And then, in
Ricky
the
said
next
it's okay.
paragraph, the second line,
She's gonna
Mr.
check.
Higginson apologized for missing the last meeting. I just put a period and then capital H on he was sick. Anybody else have other things on page 2?
I do on page 2, where the vote on the stormwater removal for the driveway on Rockland Road. I abstained from voting on that, it wasn't 5.
Okay.
So it was 401?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on page 2? Page 3, I had nothing. Anybody? Page 4, I didn't have anything. Anybody? Moving along, page 5. I only had one little thing. If you look at second paragraph, third line, we had a warrant article. I just crossed out the word that. Could be with a, in March, that said, not that in March, that said. That's the only thing I had there. Anybody else? And the last page, anyone? Good job, Naomi. Move to accept the minutes of August 14th as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I make a revision in my vote,
A revision in your...
On which vote?
on the vote, because I want to accept the money. I just was how it was going to be used.
Right, so what is
So
the,
the
what's,
actual vote was to accept the money.
okay. So what, the vote to accept the money should be
I
500?
would say yes.
Okay,
I mean, obviously I want to accept the money.
okay,
Going now, I have to-
okay, thank you.
You know, I have your phone ringing.
Yeah, I know. What the heck are you trying to do?
Okay, thank you. Manifest? Is there some of this? Okay, move to order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payable checks dated August 31st, 2017, as included in the following manifest. Payroll, weekly payroll of $46,191.41. A regular accounts payable manifest of $87,304.72. A John Stark regional manifest of $250,000. And a Weare School District manifest of $450,000 for a total of $833,496.13. The following manifests were previously ordered to be signed at the August 14th Board of Selectmen's meeting. Payroll manifest for 8/24/17. $52,023.19. Accounts payable, $49,898.28. A supplemental accounts payable manifest, which related to the Department of DPW garage, of $251,188.21. And a Weare School District accounts payable manifest of $750,000. And since there's no selectmen's meeting scheduled for Monday, September 4th, 2017, we also order the treasurer to sign payroll checks dated September 7th, estimated to be about $65,000. And that would be higher because of the holiday. Furthermore, to order the treasurer to sign up to the amount of $50,000 for accounts payable that cannot wait until the next meeting of September 11th without incurring late charges or interest. Reports and actual check amounts will be reported to the Board of Selectmen by inclusion on a manifest memo at the next scheduled meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Administrator's report.
Applause, all right. I have a request, capital reserve fund request from Parks and Rec for $642.37, and that's to, they evidently had some clogging at Chase Park, and this was to, snake the drain, for Lost Lake Plumbing and Heating, for $642.37, but what I was doing was the old board is still on here, so I was trying to fix it. So I think you guys can figure out a place to sign. But I'll need a motion for that first.
So this is an additional.
That, it's $642, but that's gonna bring that account to zero. That's why the odd amount. The $642.37 is gonna bring the Chase Park fund to zero in the capital reserve. This is Chase Park. It says, Chase Park Repair and Maintenance Fund. It's gonna bring it to zero, that's why it's an odd amount, so.
Now, did we pay this bill already?
No.
Nope, still sitting here. And what I've attached to it is, when the fund was originally set up, I wasn't so sure that that type of maintenance is allowed. And I went to the meeting on the 15th, and that was allowed. They said that was okay, that's why you didn't see it beforehand, because I thought it was an operational fund, and they said that it would be, by all means, the trustees are gonna accept it that way.
Okay, so this motion would be for the expenditure of $642.37. And what was it for cleaning the drains?
It was to, yeah, they had to snake the drains because there was a clog.
Remove the toilet, snake the drain.
Okay. For unclogging drains at Chase Park?
In the bathrooms, yeah.
In the bathrooms. And it's to come from the Chase Park
Repair and maintenance fund?
Repair and Maintenance Fund. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just want to make note on that at the end of it, on the end of the invoice, it says that there's possible root matter return on the snakehead, indicative of potential break vegetation invasion into the sewer line. So,
We could be having a problem
We
started.
could be having pipes collapsing, problem starting.
It's a waste of going everywhere, no, it should be.
Yeah, it said he's snake at 60 feet, so I don't know, the tank can't be too far away from the buildings.
Okay.
And is vegetation coming through the pipes?
That's what it says, there's no possible vegetation coming through the pipe.
The other thing that I don't believe requires a motion, there's the MS1 form is also due, which is the summary inventory evaluation is due by September 1st. So Wendy has it here, and there is a place for you all to sign on the MS1 form. Just wanted to, I'll point out the the new proposed net valuation is 857,155,242, which is a little higher than last year. I don't remember, I don't have that number, but it is a little higher than last year.
Is it comparable with our estimated increase? In other words, what do we do, 0.5%? Something like
We
that?
did, which would have brought it to 855 something, so I think it's a little more than,
Okay.
so,
And that's the property value as of April 1st?
yeah, as of April 1st, yeah, it just requires your signature on the front. You guys can look at it and pass it down. It doesn't make a motion because you're all five going to sign it. The no smoking signs for Chase Park have been ordered. We haven't gotten them yet, but they've been ordered. There's 5 of them been ordered. I just wanted to let you know that. As soon as they come in, we're going to put them up. Which brings me then to... I was waiting on the government building one last. That's why I'm skipping around, and I apologize. The Health Trust medical eligibility was brought up last time by Ricky, and I guess the question, it is at our rates, not at the COBRA rate.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you start over? I missed what
The
you were-
Health Trust, there was a question about eligibility for elected and appointed officials as well as the volunteer firefighters. We had that discussion. The question was, is it at our current rate or is it at a COBRA rate? And what they would do, according to Health Trust, is they would be at the rate that we pay. So if for a single person, it's $648.51, for 2 persons, $1297.03, and a family plan is $1750.99. How we would have to do it, I've conferred a little bit with Beth, is you'd have to get that completely up front, because in a situation of the volunteer fire, we don't know how many hours somebody's going to work. So if somebody wants to participate with us, for instance, if they want to get on for October 1st, they'd have to pay us by the middle of September, so that, because that's when we pay it for October. So it would be prepaid, and then if they become not a member, that ends at the end of the month, there's no COBRA. So if you quit midstream in October after you've paid for 1 month's coverage, it ends at the end of October. So, does that answer your questions? Okay,
Can't see that.
yeah,
Would
so-
there be any limit on?
those are our numbers.
Number of hours that the person would have to work in order to participate?
No, because they're paying 100% of it. But the problem with trying to have a deduction out of your pay is just to, especially when, you know, it's based on hours worked, you don't know how many fires or how many rescues or anything else is going to happen. And the same thing with you guys, if you guys wanted to get on it and then March rolled around and you don't get reelected for some reason, it ceases at the end of March. So, but the numbers are the top numbers, these are retirees. The top numbers across there, and this is the explanation from, there's a long-winded email.
Oh, yeah.
But Ricky had asked for clarification, which is why I said I would follow up tonight.
Would the board have to take any action in order to allow this?
It's my understanding that you, from what they said here, that you, group is not required to offer benefits to all categories of employees. So if you want to simply stick to the elected appointed officials and the firefighters, you could do that. Or you could open it to, I mean, you probably get some members at the library that might want, I don't know. But that's something that you guys have to open it up for.
Thoughts?
You don't have to decide tonight, I'm just gonna share that with you, and I'll forward you the lengthy email, and you guys can revisit it at the next time if you want, but it's just a thought. Ricky had asked for information. Email.
Yeah, it was more informational than anything, Tom. I appreciate that, Naomi. Thank you.
Yep. Also was brought up last week was the hawkers and peddlers that was on the website. That the one that's on the the one that's on the website is unsigned. I didn't get a chance to venture down and see if the clerk has a signed copy. But I would think we would have had a signed copy put on the website if we had such a thing. So my thought was,
I thought you did.
okay, well, if I had a signed one, I'd be happy to put it up, but I don't have one in our office.
Okay.
So I did go back and find the minutes, and there was a memo from Ed Barrett regarding it. It was approved. Very limited information other than what you see written here. If it's not been signed, my suggestion was that maybe we relook at it as a group, refresh it maybe, and see if, you know, because we were, I mean, we've got a lot of things that are unsigned way back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I can't imagine, I mean, if we had one, I would put it up there, but we must not have one close by, because the one that's on there is not signed. So I'm not sure what you guys want to do. If you want to look at it again, I mean, it's been since '96, and
Right, look at it again.
I mean, I honestly, it's, you know, it says, there's some RSA's in here. I'd also like to let the police chief know if we're gonna start doing it again, that, because it talks about hours of operation for them, it talks about the fee, and that they have to get it from the PD. So I think it's just something that, we're gonna have to refine that, because they're not taking any money anymore. All the money's coming over here, they get a receipt and go over there to pick up their pistol permit, their reports, and anything else, because he doesn't want to have money over there. So I think we need to have this conversation again. I mean, this is just me.
Oh, we have it reviewed again in council too. So the RSA's, what they could be, always been amended or changed.
And if it is, I mean, if it's truly even signed, it may be a little outdated too. I just didn't think it, when it was brought up, it's a harm to do that.
Yep.
So I'll do that if you'd like. Summer schedule. Tonight's the last of your summer schedule. I just wrote it's over tonight, so enjoy next week. You have also financial printouts. I think Beth left them in front of you for everybody for tonight. And, oh, I'm sorry, I do have one more. I have one more. I had a lady come in that we took the property and deeded it to us. I met with her and her mom, and I've got an amount that they're going to be bringing in, which brings it up to date and provided the same amount of, I gave them the 50% off the interest as we did, because they're gonna bring it in full. We're talking almost $11,000 to buy it back total, and that check will come in. But in the meantime, she's supposed to come in next week. I'd like to be able to, once she comes in, and not wait till the 11th for you to sign the deed back to them. So I don't think you need a motion. It's just transferring the property back to the owner that we deeded it from. With that being said,
So that's a regular thing we do, is 50% off.
if they're paying it in full, we made that, I guess, the board made that decision.
Interest and penalty.
It's not off the taxes. Nothing comes off the tax. It's just the interest off of, instead of the 18% that keeps building up, we offered, if they paid it in full, it would be half.
Okay.
So, now we can go back to government building part if you'd like to. We have a couple of things. You had asked me to put back out to bid the town hall doors, which were rebid, and with bids due today by 4 to be open tonight at the meeting. I reached out to the two that were there previously, plus the one that put in the bid. The prior gentleman that put in the bid sent me an email and said that at this time he declines to rebid the project, which is the Madison. So you have 2 bids and an email. They're sealed bids, so if somebody wants to open them, I did not open them. We stamped them received. That's for the installation of the doors that are there, just as a reminder. I'm sorry, did I tell everybody to use black on that deed? I hope so. The two that you received are from Gary Labrie Carpentry, right here in Weare, and Tech Built right here in Weare. At the same time, while you guys want to look at it, we have to do something with cameras because the 60 days is up September 7th. You're not going to meet again before then. And I can also share with you, if you can read and listen at the same time, that the gazebo is included. The gazebo is part of the government building and maintenance.
I figured that would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I went to the trustees meeting on the 15th, and the gazebo is considered part of.
Right, the question was, we discussed not only repair, but replacement.
Right. They felt that the gazebo would fall under the government building and replacement
Even
fund.
if it were completely replaced,
Mhm.
that was the question that
Specs are available from Reed's Ferry. Would it be okay if we had the specs put together and make that part of, like when it goes out to bid? Like we did with, there was something else we just did recently. Oh, we're talking about doing it, the roofing.
Oh, the one that we received.
You're
That's
gonna
yeah.
use what you received for a bid recently, or?
For a budget number.
Yes. Well, a budget number and for going out to bid when the project goes out to bid, if it goes out to bid.
Are
I
you
was
talking about the tower?
the bell tower.
I'm using that as a for instance, but using the Reed's Ferry specs.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there some specs that were drafted by team engineer when they looked at that?
They, I
What was
mean,
that?
They only did the base, right?
they only really looked
Team
at.
engineering did the base spec as far as the groundwork.
I don't think using somebody
No.
else, some other company's specs to send out a spec order is the right way.
Well, that's what you're gonna do with the Walker one.
I only received the Walker one in hopes of having a budget number, I
Yeah,
think,
but
for capital
Tom
reserve.
requested using the specs last time for that.
Well, I didn't re-put it back out.
No, I know.
Yeah,
It's not going out till spring, I didn't think.
right. I think I needed it for a number, for a budget number, because last year when we were asked a question about projects, we didn't have projects or numbers listed in that.
Either now or, why don't I do it under new business?
Okay.
What's related to that? I'm trying to tie the work over there that has to be done into the CIP project process, I mean.
Right.
And I'll speak to that under new business.
Okay. I apologize for the delay, but they were sealed and said they'd be open tonight, so I didn't open them.
The two bids that came in, just, I had talked to Chip a long time ago about, quality carpenters, construction people in town, and these were probably the first two off his lips as far as quality work. Not that there aren't others, but, he was very complimentary of the work of the two that put in these estimates. Naomi, in both cases, are they going to be able to do it this fall before we get into it?
They both expressed they could. I'm not gonna tell you that if you wait on a decision that, 2 more weeks from now, they may fill it with another job.
Yeah.
I can't make that
I see
determination.
us waiting. Waiting for- When was it, 2014, Rick?
I think we're over there, yeah. Yeah,
We looked
late.
at all of this and made up a list of things to be done, and this is 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Now, should we read these bids into the minutes?
Well, you'll have to. I just wanted you to all take a look at them. You have to tell who and how much.
Okay, we had two bids related to the replacement of the town hall doors. One was from Gary Labrie Carpentry for $6,500. The terms of 50% deposit upon proposal acceptance and balance upon completion of job. Remove existing doors, 4 units, including thresholds. Remove closers and panic bar hardware. Install new thresholds, 3. Aluminum handicap threshold to remain. Install new doors, panels provided by town, including mortising, hinges, and bolts. Supply and install adjustable door sweeps with exterior hoods. Supply and install brass kick plates on doors. Doors to be fastened to framing members, not just door jambs as they are now. Reinstall closers, panic bar, and hardware. From Tech Built, we have a proposal for $4,420 and supply all the labor required to remove and replace 4 door blanks with new that are being supplied by the town of Weare. Contractor shall be responsible for supplying miscellaneous materials such as insulation, screws, and door casings as required. The contractor is not responsible for painting the newly installed door blanks. The contractor shall be responsible for painting any newly installed trim, casings, and door sills as required. The contractor will remedy any defects that occur during and up to 1 year for completion of construction due to faulty materials and workmanship, etc. I think the rest is. Discussion, proposal, motion?
Well, Mr. Labrie spells it out more
The
specifically,
way I felt, he went more in depth.
whereas gentleman from Tech Built just kind of gave a blind one. And, even though it's more money,
Yeah. talked about,
I think, like I said, he's got stuff spelled out, which I think is what needed to be done. The only other problem I have with that is he doesn't have any spelled out warranty, but I'm sure at some point we're going to get a contract from him for the bid, that'd be included for performance and quality of work, but
Basically, what Gary LeBrie did was go down the list of things that were included in the proposal and repeat them all.
yeah, which wasn't on the other one, which is
No, it wasn't.
which is you know, that's, to me it looks like it wasn't spelled out, so it's not like it's not in his bid to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Well, at the top, it says refer to the RFP. Yeah, it says refer to the RFP from the town of Weare, which is being used as a guideline for this proposal.
Which is this right here.
Yeah,
That was what everybody wanted.
talk about the framing.
using existing hinges. Well, I understand the hinges that are there are bent, so. Oh, and we're gonna supply new hinges for you.
For the ones that have been,
Mhm.
again, that's so that we end up with the same kind and not variation.
It still has added things in there that weren't on the RFP, so.
The only thing I like a little bit more about tech builds is the legal discussion at the bottom about the builders, general liability, etc. Not to say that it doesn't have that, but it's clearly stated at the bottom of this who's insuring who. And
Yeah, you ask for that anyway when you get,
Right.
go to award it, you know, present the insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
But this thing's still on
Right.
Mr. LeBrie's that are not
Specifics of
not
what-
even in the RFP, so that he's
Right.
specifically gonna do that thing, which is,
Right.
I know it's a few dollars more, but I don't wanna,
Approximately 2,000.
I don't wanna make the mistake of
Oh no,
Getting
especially
it.
with these doors.
getting
No.
a cheap bid again and end up back in the square one.
Now, can I just ask a question? The doors are still not painted. If these guys can go, either of these guys could go and do it right away, is it a problem to take the door off to paint? I don't know, I'm asking.
The door itself.
The doors are not painted yet. If these guys, either one of these guys can go and do it next weekend, I'm just saying. Is that a problem to put them up and then take them back off to paint them?
When can we get them painted?
Well, I wouldn't
Yeah.
take them
I
off
wouldn't
there,
take them back off.
but what, the only things, the warranty on those doors says they have to be painted on all 6 surfaces.
Right,
So the edges would have to be painted before they go up.
okay.
The bottom.
And I could have them coordinate that,
with-
the edge
yeah.
against, I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and
All right,
Other than that, as long as it wasn't a long waiting time.
Okay.
Right.
Then I think they could be painted in place.
okay,
Probably check with
okay.
the person who.
Whoever you decide, I'll have them coordinate together, I guess.
Yeah. I'm fine with either of them. I do like the scope of work. So that was written, that was reading a little better.
It spells it out more clear.
Yeah.
But could you just reread the first sentence on Tech Build's house?
Contract proposal between Tech Build and Town of Weare. Description, please refer to the request for proposal from the Town of Weare, which is being used as a guideline for this proposal.
Which is this right here that you guys
Which
looked
is the
at.
RFP.
What is in the other one that isn't in that RFP?
He's telling me no.
Remove the doors,
Mm-hmm.
remove closures.
Nothing in that RFP that I saw about the brass kick plates.
Oh, they put in brass kick plates?
He's got that spelled out.
Oh, I see. Supply and install brass kick plates on the doors. Are those the bottom pieces?
Big pieces of glass that go across the
Okay.
road. Installed
It's probably a difference in price.
in it. Huh?
That's probably a difference in price.
I mean, it's
The only
smart to
thing,
do
the only
that.
thing I don't see on the RFP that's on Labreeze is doors to be fastened to the framing members, not just the
Right.
jams the way they
Not
are
the
now.
jumps, that's right.
Which I think is.
He spells that out too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it says that in the RFP, correct?
no,
No.
It does not.
does not say that.
No.
It says to clear the,
Replace any casings that are damaged during the process. Submit a proposal for blocking material that will carry the weight of the doors. Remove casings.
Could be the block material, but.
Not like that one.
Reviewed by Chip, is that a mouthful
Yeah.
for them?
Yes, line 6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Leave it
that's
exposed for improvement by the code enforcement officer or town designated personnel, which I think leaves us open to probably team, right?
yeah, the purpose of that was just for that
Mhm.
reason, to have the proper blocking and attachment to the frame.
Picture of the city that was done.
I just can, $2,000 difference, and they're both respected local contractors.
Right.
Who installed them the last time?
It was
Somebody out of
Yeah,
Chichester.
it was a bid.
AJ Wood.
Yeah.
I forget, what are the numbers? It was 1,000 for a quote and is it 5,000 for a
20.
bid?
Yeah.
5 or
Yeah,
25.
that was what was,
Yeah.
I don't have
That's what they,
20.
I thought that's what they said. also.
Where's your bag?
Hmm?
You have it in your book, don't you? Purchasing policy.
because I talked to Chip.
One of them has, one of them's the 5,000 has to be formal, I think, which we did formal anyway.
Right.
The frame.
And I contracted 3 people, that's why I needed the email, because you're supposed to have 3 quotes.
Right, right, right.
You just don't need this? Oh, is this tonight's?
Oh, no, that's the other two I just barely cashed. I don't know what it is.
1,001, it tells you the levels. Keep going. A little more.
It was blocking to attach, yeah. John, I haven't heard from you, what are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with Ricky that Labreeze fell down a lot better. Even though it's a little more money, I think, you know.
Jack, is that your thinking as well, so?
I still think that Mr. Labrie is, you know, they're probably both very reputable, and according to Chip, they're both reputable and good companies, and I don't doubt that, but I think he spells it out a little more, and I don't wanna get and it's been a habit that it's, you know, go to do this and end up fixing them 3 and 4 times, you know. I mean, we've thrown good money after bad between whatever the cost was to have a contractor come in and hang these doors. We've got those doors there and basically the junk. I mean, I guess we can cut them up for firewood is about where it's gonna happen, but, you know, and it was done cheaply and we suffered for it. And I think, you know, Mr. Labrie spells out a few more things that aren't in here. And you know, I'm all for saving money, but there's a point in time when you're saving money and you're gonna end up losing it some way down the road. I think
Well, it seems
I'd
like we
rather
have,
see it right up front and not.
seems like we have a majority, is that where you're leaning?
Yeah.
Okay, wasn't somebody make a motion, and we'll move on.
I move that we accept the bid from Gary Labrie for the town hall doors at $6,500 as proposed.
Yeah, and the money to come from the Mildred Hall
Mildred Hall,
The Mildred Hall Fund.
Trust Fund
Trust
for the
fund.
town hall.
the town hall.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah,
Aye. Any opposed?
All right, as I said earlier, you have to do something with your Protection One camera plan that The protection one I sent to you guys a while ago for cameras.
Oh,
This is 60 days from July 7th is your deadline.
Question is, how come we only get one proposal out of the
Yep.
police department, and every other department we get 2 or 3?
And Ricky asked that same question. I asked for the other ones because you want to get 3, we can get 3. I mean, I don't
I'd like
have.
to get 3. I mean, I heard,
Yeah.
I heard rumor that
I
it's,
think we need more than one, because
Mhm.
to compare things with.
yeah, and the other thing is too, is it's pursuant to the purchasing policy that I have right in front of me.
And
know.
adding into that, I remember the first time that they brought the first bid back before July, and it was, oh, well, we didn't act on it, well, they had to get it rebid, because
Rebid,
it's been since April.
And it's a good thing we didn't,
And
they
they
make
said-
camera thing.
And they said, oh, yeah, well, they're obsolete, so I mean, I got the feeling we're getting,
Yeah,
just getting what was left on the shelf to clear their inventory, and we'd end up in that same boat again
Right.
a year or 6 months down the road or whatever. So I think, I know that if we rebid it, that property, the cameras over there, if we check to somebody else, I know that we're gonna end up in that fix because the cameras
But
and
now
the
s-
DVR
just-
and
I'm
all
just
that
gonna
is
share with you-
proprietary to
right.
them, and we'll have to redo it all.
Protection one has the current.
correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just explain that to you.
So,
Well, it seems like the only thing that would be salvageable, because they're talking about a whole different recording system.
Right.
That it would just be whatever cameras are compatible with.
I think in that
think
bid,
they
I'd
own
only as
cameras.
many cameras there stay.
I think that they.
I think it's a total replacement.
I think it's a total replacement. I think some of those cameras are proprietary, the way I understood it.
Right.
To them.
To that
Protection
system.
One, for their system. Which I don't understand, but
So what, we're leasing the cameras?
There's 8 cameras listed right there. 9.
I'm not sure, that- or they may be only
There's 9 cameras
compatible to
listed in this
their
quote, this
equipment.
quote.
They may be some type of,
Yeah.
if that's so,
In purchases above 5,000, right in the
Yeah.
purchasing policy, you need to follow the section 9, line, section B, and it says that, the board can waive it, but I don't want to get in practice of that.
no.
I mean, I understand that some of this hardware is proprietary to Protection One already, and that's probably why we will find that this is the better number of 3 bids, but how do we know if we don't have 2 other bids in front of us, or at least one other bid in front of us?
Okay, so we're taking no action.
Correct.
All right. So then you have to. I think you did it before. You, I guess, reject the bid and put them back out. Because I think
Reject
John
that
made
bid.
that motion before when we were running out of time. So,
I make a motion, we reject the Protection One bid and rebid the process of getting more companies to bid, if possible, under the purchasing policy.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think that's all I had, Tom. I've got probably some correspondence and then the non-public at the end.
Okay, public comment?
So excited, we'll tumble over.
Could you clarify on the cameras? I thought the original request came in, it was around $8,000.
It is
Is that?
8,500.
8450.
And that's for 2 additional cameras?
No, it's really for a whole new
System replacement.
recording system. The system they have is obsolete as far as reproducing something from it or keeping it on hand for a long period of time. And I think this will even be tied in with Goffstown, is it?
Yeah, there'd be a live feed from the lobby to Goffstown, but that was already paid for last year's funding.
This purchase
And
order.
I understand that 2 of the cameras in the rear of the building aren't even working, so.
I would, but it is around $8,000, that's.
8 to 500, yeah.
And you had mentioned lease, is that a
Well, there's some
potential
of,
lease?
some of the way they spell it out, it looks like some of the cameras and some of the equipment is proprietary to them, so if we went out possibly to have somebody else do it, we'd end up replacing the whole system. We don't,
Yeah.
we're not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure, that doesn't
But it
sound
lists that
right
some of
just
this is
because I've
property
never
of
had,
protection one, so, I mean,
I have some experience because when I owned the store, I had to get a whole new system, and there was no mention of anything other than purchase.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, who knows?
There is a recurring fee, monthly fee, but I think we already pay that now, don't we? We have $45.
And at the time the original request came in, I don't know if you had made a motion, or there was discussion that you're gonna use money from the government building and maintenance. I wish you'd reconsider that and see if you could take money out of the operating budget. It would appear to me that there's savings in that department. So,
We have had that
Yes,
discussion.
we've had that discussion,
We
yes.
do want to pursue that.
I just got a couple of quick things. Sugar and Spice, it's a building that's leased to Sugar and Spice, a nonprofit, and we charge them $1,500 a year. I wish the board would reconsider and not charge them for a lease. I mean, Stone Building is leased, and it's $1 if we get that. The Brown Barn is a lease as well. They do a lot of the maintenance work over there themselves, and maybe you could work something out where if they could keep a minimum amount in the maintenance fund that you wouldn't have to charge them a lease. It's a nonprofit, certainly benefits a lot of the families in town. As far as the Finance Committee goes, I've served on the Finance Committee, and our meetings were televised. If you're in that mode, it doesn't bother you. For some reason, over the past 5 to 10 years or so, maybe 5 years, they seem to get away from that. I would hope the board would not move in the direction that was suggested by the town moderator. Article 36 last year addressed the issue, and it was stated that the article that passed was that would ask that all boards, commissions, and committees use their best efforts to schedule meetings at times and in the location where the meetings could be recorded or broadcast. And I expressed concern that all the boards and committees were required to have their meetings. It would be quite a burden on the cable committee to have to, and there'd be costs associated with those committees that don't meet here. So I think what we have is sufficient. I hope that he could convince everybody that to broadcast their meetings, and I know that the board has always been at arm's length with the Finance Committee, which it should be. Then let the moderator address that issue and not have to put an ordinance in place or that would require that those meetings be broadcast.
As a member of the Cable Committee, this is not from the board, it's just something that I've personally been thinking about bringing up, and we haven't had a discussion on it. Purchasing additional recording equipment for the conservation room and maybe even for the great room at the fire department, so that even though they may not be able to broadcast live, the meetings of Board of Fire Wards and the Finance Committee could be recorded. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, it certainly would require someone to set the equipment up, and including microphones and making sure that the equipment is ready to record. So there's some effort on a group that's fairly thin in terms of numbers. So there's no reason why they can't meet here most nights.
That's true.
But I understand, like the Board of Fire Wards, they meet over at the fire department, which makes sense. Anyway. Okay. So one of my favorite subjects is the noise ordinance, but it's kind of a misnomer. It should be firing range and fireworks ordinance, I think. In 2015, there was an article on the warrant that voters approved, but almost 60% approved that the board would do something and have public hearings and then place an article on the warrant for the voters to decide. And I know there was some mention earlier this year about resurrecting the original article that was created. And I think that article is flawed and doesn't address the real concerns, which are fire ranges and fireworks. So I wish the board would either make a decision, we're not going to do it, or we're going to do it and we're going to take it seriously. The committee that was formed last year was flawed. I mean, you didn't interview anyone. You didn't know what their failings were, whether they thought that it was necessary or not. And at one point in time, the chairman of the committee said everyone on that committee doesn't think we need a noise ordinance. And I agree. I don't think we need a noise ordinance. I think we need something specific for fire ranges and fireworks. And the study that was done, or the survey that was done, is flawed as well, because we didn't know the complaints that were addressed by filling out those forms. You didn't know where they were coming from. So I would hope that the board would maybe reconsider starting over again, interviewing people, and putting a group together that would be charged with coming up with something, but more representative of the people that had concerns, as well as the people that don't want to have any restrictions. And from what I've read, to me, Goffstown has, I thought, a very excellent fireworks ordinance and guidelines, I think it is. And they're not very intrusive or restrictive. And as far as firing ranges, I think you really have to look at impact zones. If you create a noise ordinance that affects everyone in town, I think there'll be some issues, especially if you're dealing with fire ranges. But if you look at impact zones in areas of dense population, maybe those are areas that should be restricted. So I would urge the board not to resurrect the ordinance that failed in 2015, but to kind of go back and take a harder look and maybe do a better job at interviewing people and coming up with a representative group of people that can discuss it and come up with something.
Thank you.
Good evening, John Van, Walker Hill Road. In response to Mr. Butt's previous comments about the Noise Ordinance Committee, two things I would like to correct, if you could stick around for a moment. One was that he believes that it was said that everybody's against it. I was actually for it, so that's not entirely true. As for the results of the survey that was done at the election, on the little slips was type of complaint and the location, and that information was recorded down. I don't know if that information is still available. You'll have to speak with the former chairperson of that, which was Lori Davis. But all that information was taken into account. Moving on from that, the town gazebo. I mentioned this a couple of meetings ago, and I'm going to say it again. I implore you not to use tax dollars to pay for this. I don't feel that this should be a building that comes out of government and maintenance, government funding, or whatever the name of that fund is. Go for maybe donations. Think outside the box. This doesn't seem like a mission critical building to me. This is a place of recreation, if you will. Let's see if we can get some donations from some of the companies in town. There's some there could be some deep pockets available. Maybe we do some fundraising with some of the nonprofits, but let's stop spending tax dollars on this place. Thank you.
I'd just like to correct something. The statement was made by the chair of the committee that there was no one on that committee that supported that was going to support it. No one on that committee wanted a noise ordinance. I didn't take a survey of the individuals. It was stated by the chairperson. I believe it was stated to the board, and that's in minutes. So I wanted to clarify that. What was the other issue you had?
The
Survey.
talking about the gazebo.
Survey.
No. As far as the survey goes, there is no information that would tell you today that there, of the 300 or 200 complaints that came in, I forget what the numbers were, that 180 of them came from the Daniels Lake area. or that 100 came from another area. That information isn't, why isn't that information available? You know, it was, people took their time to fill out the survey, and the data never materializes. So before you start talking about the data is available, where is it? That's all. Thanks.
It might even be a question because of when it was taken and the group that it drew upon and the fact that it was voluntary. There might not be enough there to support any finance anyways. Enough said. Somebody else?
Frank Campana. I'd like you to bear with me. The last meeting that I was at, August 14th, part of my public comment was centered around the cameras, the money for the cameras at the police department, which you seem to make a moot point tonight. And I was using numbers of budgeted numbers in the specific line of officers' salaries, and I misspoke. I have it on my paper here. I watched the rebroadcast. I was using a number of $100,000 as an average cost for an officer, but the figures that I put out there, somehow or other, it came to $10,000, but the average cost on a $100,000 officer is $8,333. So my numbers were off. I apologize for, I don't know, I mean, I had it right in front of me, the $8,000 number, but I was using the $10,000 instead.
You're forgiven.
Okay. I can always be corrected. So, and just to add to that about money available in the broad spectrum of money available in the police department, I called finance administrator.
Beth?
I usually call, well, you know, I was trying to be polite tonight, call her by her title.
Sorry.
Didn't want to make it too personal. Okay, so I called Beth a week ago, last Friday, it was on the 18th, and I was curious to know, I remember it said at a meeting that there was another officer, a police officer that was going on reserve. We've had one on reserve for quite a while, and there was another one that was going on. So I asked her an update of that person, and she said I was right. And her last check to paycheck for him before he went on reserve was the last week of June, and that check was July 6th. So it was the last check of June, and then he went on reserve. So I questioned her again to make sure that I was right from another question way back to her, that you know, when these guys go in reserves, what do we pay them? And the town, she said per contract, the town pays them the balance of what, you know, what the reserve pay is. So, you know.
The difference.
All right, the difference.
Pays the difference to make a...
Again, in talking, in asking about this new person that's going on reserve, I said, well, and I wasn't asking for a number for him. I said, well, we're going to pay the difference, the balance of him. And she said, no, she says, we're not paying him anything. I said, really? And she said, he makes too much.
Reserve pays him more than we do.
The reserves pays him more.
Right, the reserve pays him more. So here's another instance of, you know, that, and I asked her, I said, well, do you know how long he's going to be gone? She said, well, she really didn't know, but I guess we agreed on July and August. I mean, he was gone in July anyway. So if you want to use that $8,000 number, just that one person, 2 months, That's well over $16,000 that the police department's not spending in budgeted money, which is an adjusted, well, actually, that probably was not an adjusted number from the amendment, because it committed to, salaries. So, just the correction that, I used a $10,000 average, and it's not, it's at $8,333. And this new person that's gone, you're not spending that money for at least 2 months. So, and that's all. Oh, yeah, one other thing. I didn't get the full net assessed valuation number.
Oh.
I got the 857, I think. And that's what's going to be used? That won't change, right? Probably.
I don't imagine that's gonna change, because that's as of April 1st.
Okay.
Is it down there, or do I have it?
Well, let me call you. Actually, I'm coming in for the, sitting on the CIP, so I can get
Oh,
that from
you
you.
get it to you in
tomorrow.
the morning? Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
9:30, right?
Yep.
Okay.
9 o'clock.
9.
Oh, 9.
You'd be late at 9:30.
Okay.
Now you
And,
gotta get up early.
pardon?
You gotta get up early.
I might need it after today. Thank you.
Okay.
Although I do see Ozzy go by every morning. Well, I'm up for that. Okay, and that's all I have. Just that correction and pass it on.
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah.
Tim Matheson, 80 River Road. On the doors, could you look into the center mullion on the front of the building where the 2 doors detach? If you slam the doors, the center mullion reverbs. It's like it's not anchored to the sill or to the top plate. So we have to have that looked at, because that may be an extra work issue on those 2 doors. I don't know if any of you have run into that problem over there. Let's see. Second thing is, can we ask the installer of the doors if he needs to replace a hinge jamb, that he use the approved stock, same what Mass Road provided in the first place? This way we don't end up with a poplar wood or some cheap white wood that'll rot fast. So you're looking for probably a pine or a fir jamb. Nothing finger jointed, solid wood. If anybody saw over there this weekend, somebody has big rocks over there to hold the doors open. There's a much better mechanical device to do that. You can use it. Mechanical hold opens on the door arms, or there are hooks and latches that you can put on the actual steps, or you can attach them to the side rails.
Even worse, just if you don't mind my interrupting, people are putting pieces of board
Yeah.
in, it just springs those.
In between the
hinges.
door jamb, yeah, it's awful.
They're up on the top, aren't they? What you're
Yep,
talking
it's a
about?
little twist lock.
Okay.
But I think it's best to use both,
Okay.
because sometimes in the wind they will fail.
Yep.
So if it's a hook and latch, and like I said, some will set right into the granite. You can buy those, or you can actually attach something to the rail.
Okay.
The other thing too, watch out guys on the kick plates. It might not be solid brass. You want to ask for solid brass kick plates, because what you'll end up with probably is anodized steel or stainless steel, and the color will come through eventually, the base metal or rust. So that's it for the doors. The gazebo, now that we have word back from the trustees of the trust funds for the government buildings, I have the specs for the gazebo. If I bring them in, could you review and accept and possibly adopt if we're going to purchase a gazebo?
Are they from that vendor we've been talking
Yes.
about?
Well,
I can actually get
we
the
can
specs.
review them, but I wouldn't commit to saying we're gonna accept them
As written.
and use them for purchase. No, I'd pass them, I'd look at them and then probably pass them on to somebody else to look at, and that would be probably like team engineering.
Instead of us to try to rewrite them.
So, I'd look at them and then submit them to team engineering, have somebody else look at them. We're not qualified to say whether those are correct or incorrect, and I'm not gonna be in the point where you're gonna take some vendor specs from a vendor. And that kind of, if somebody else wants to, if this does go out to bid, I agree at times with what John, some of the stuff John said, that if we're gonna do this, then I don't wanna have it favoring one person. You know, we wanna be upfront and open, so if you do it all, that, you know, only that certain specs that are put out, you know, proprietary to Reed's Ferry, no. I mean, we gotta give it so it's apples to apples and everybody look at it. Reed's Ferry has some stuff that wasn't put out in what other people have said when we had somebody look at it to put a bid in on it, so.
And not saying that Reed's Ferry doesn't
I'm not
make a
saying
great
they don't
product.
make a great product, but it's, you're being,
No, I was just,
you're being more
Biased.
favorite,
You're being
biased
biased.
and favoritism, so it could open up a thing of favoritism. If you wanna bring them forward, fine, and I mean, if they wanna bid on it, they have to come in and bid on it. Unless you're not an employee, you're empowered to bid for them, so, or give their specs. I mean, it's like, they'd have to come in and do it, you know, it's when it comes down to the final nitty gritty, but if you wanna submit them for us to look at the exact specs, that's fine.
Yeah.
One of the, just on that, if you don't mind my adding my 2 cents, not just on that Reed's Ferry, but the whole concept of the gazebo. When we had the emails that came through about the holes in the ground and the benches and those, I took a walk through and I wanted to look at the gazebo again, because the thing that concerned us about it here when we started talking about it was some cracks that were appearing near the tops of separation that looked like there may be I forgot what Keith called it, but basically it was a shift.
it's racking.
Yeah,
It's spinning down, it's racking.
and it doesn't seem to have gone any further than what it was at that time, very minor at the top. And one of the things that I don't know is for those pillars that hold it up, I know that they're punky.
They're rotted at the bases, that's why they put all the boxes on the bottom.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, is that all the way through? Is there a
I believe there's a steel pipe inside that.
Because that makes a lot of difference as far as the safety and
It's just a
the
box, it's just a box, that's what it is, but so there's no structure.
So your cornices, those little cornice pieces are the only thing kind of holding it from racking. The actual rails and stiles.
I mean, are the pillars have steel pipe inside?
Mhm.
It's just a box, that's just decorative, then that wood. that's
Down
on it is
the
just
bottom,
decorative.
yes, I'm gonna put that to cover up the rot, basically.
But the wood, if it's a pipe in the middle of those pillars,
That's
those,
what's
the
holding
wooden
up.
pillars are not
Structural.
structural,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
And that's why we have to look at it. If they are structural, then we've got to hurry up
Potential,
type of thing.
yeah.
If they're not structural because there's metal inside of
And
them,
plus by boxing in,
then we've got a
they're
little
rusting
more
the base.
time to work with on
But
it.
the thing, yeah, the other thing is, depending on how it's set up inside with the pipes, how you can rust, unless they galvanized or stainless or something like that. The other issue is that may be structural for the roof, but it's not structural for the whole roof. So, but, you know, we know what the issue is with some of it, having it looked at.
But one of the things that, again, I don't want to prolong it on that, one of the things that concerned us, because it didn't have enough support underneath, permanent support, was what was causing that racking. So
Right.
there was some additional support put underneath so that it at least held it where it was and
Yeah.
didn't go any further.
When I looked at it, I could tell part of the majority of the problem for that is that it was not
The
on a
foundation.
solid base. It's on
It's in blocks.
a chimney block, and then it's on red brick that's stuffed under there. That's not, well, it's sitting basically on the ground, so every time the frost, the ground heaves with the frost, or the
It moves
spring,
it.
it moves it, so yeah, I know, it's gotta be, something's gotta be addressed with it.
I'm saying the timeline for addressing it depends on its stability.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, even the stability of it, I mean, the only other thing to do is, at that point, is to, if it gets too bad, we closed it before, is either close it and it's gonna, get to the point if we decide to do this, or if it's, like John says, is to get, use some type of other fundraising instead of using taxpayer money.
well, the Historical
Yeah.
Society, we talked about it briefly. We do have some money for it, and we talked about doing some fundraising, but I don't know if you'd arrive at that figure.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Jim, go ahead.
Oh, no problem.
You know, I think that the fundraising part of it is important. Like I said, it's not a mission critical building to the town. We have mission critical buildings here, such as
I'm not gonna vote to take money out
No,
of the government building
and-
fund and buy a new gazebo.
no, the other.
I'd rather put it in
I
the
remember
into a
when-
building.
I remember
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
gazebo's not really historical
No.
to the town. What sat there was a house that burned.
That was built in 1980,
Yeah.
87.
Yeah, so I mean, so I don't think, same thing, I think that we ought to look at
The
other
amount
alternatives.
of money that's in that fund to take $18,000 out for that, there's no way.
No, no,
Can't do it.
I agree.
not this year.
No.
Which is why I was looking at the stability of it, to see.
Yeah, I mean,
whether
if
it's
it comes
safe.
down to it's a safety hazard,
Close it.
close it or tear it down. Sorry.
If
but
you,
that-
I'm sorry, but if you close it, some kid goes on there and gets hurt, you're still liable.
Well, yeah, we were in that issue before, because it was like, oh, we don't want anybody on it, but who's gonna stop the kids? Because the kids from school go over there, middle school go over there all the time, every day.
Ending the school day.
And then, well,
Perfect. It's all.
yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, and then if nothing else, you got the cheerleading practice down there, they're over there hanging, I mean, every day this, so I mean, if it gets that bad, we'd have to do something.
And the other thing was to just keep in mind, have the installer reserve some of the best doors, so we can put one of those on the back door.
At a later date.
I was looking at Saturday, I was talking to some people, some volunteers might see about doing that, if it'd be all right with you people.
Probably the one that's now the handicap door, because it's got the least sunlight, so I think this probably has the least warp in it. So that might be the one to save.
Are they all the same size? I don't know.
They should all be.
Okay.
The handicap one's a little different in size, I measured
Oh,
them
okay.
out to.
I wasn't sure if they were wider than the back door one. I
They're
don't
all the
really.
same width,
Oh,
but
even the
height
back
is-
door to the stage?
The back door is like plywood, it's a misconglomeration, so
Oh,
it makes
okay.
it
That
Okay.
total new framework.
Okay,
together.
all right.
And also, on a public building like this, you put one set on each leaf. They call it NRP. It's non-removable pin hinge. It's an NRP hinge. So if someone tries to break in, pop the pins out to gain entry to the door, because you have an exit device that only has a clicker side, it doesn't have an actual mortise lock. They can actually pop the pins and
Just rack the door off.
pull it out. So if you put one set of NRP hinges in, it'll alleviate that problem.
That's what they're called?
NRP, yep.
Okay.
Those might
And you're
be
looking for
that, 'cause
stainless.
Those are ball bearings.
Excuse me? Yep.
Those might be the type you're talking about, they're on it now, I'm not sure.
And they're stainless?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are all stainless.
And there's only one of those that goes to each door, so.
Okay.
The last thing is, any insurance yet for the clerk of the works?
I meant to follow up. I had Primex here on Wednesday. She was supposed to have somebody get back to me, but I wasn't here Friday. And I honestly, Tim, I meant to follow up for an answer for tonight, and I apologize.
Could we have something
Because
for-
they did cover the Henniker one, because they were Henniker's insurer at the time, but she didn't have the specifics and was gonna have that person get back to me. So, and I apologize, like I said, but.
Mhm. So, probably by next meeting, we'd have an answer on that.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you also? Okay, correspondence?
I sent you guys Monday, I think I filled your inbox. Last Monday?
Yes, you
Yes.
did.
Just, do you want to go through any of it or no?
I read it, but I forgot it all.
Well, you gotta thank, I can briefly, I mean, you gotta thank you from the girl, the senior that asked the questions. The second thing you do, I would like you to, I guess I'll ask you to, or I can, read into the minutes was the resignation of Janet as a trustee.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to read it.
Yeah, I read it.
She's elected, yes.
Do you do anything in recognition or no?
Did I?
Do we?
Oh.
Or does the board?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah.
A letter of thank you?
Oh, yeah, sure, we
something?
can do it. Yeah, we can do a letter of thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
So I think it was 9.5 years.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Today.
Do we have to appoint somebody or?
I believe it goes to town meeting, because it's an elected position.
Yeah.
So in March, I don't know what, if she was up this year or she has an unexpired term, because you may have 2 on the
I
ballot.
think she was 16. She was elected.
Okay, so you're gonna have a 2-year.
And, I mean, she really did complete a lot of the work that was outstanding in
sure.
that department, so,
Sure.
or the cemeteries.
I'll ask Maureen what we do. I think we really just let it go until then. There's still 2 of them, so they could still meet. And they're still meeting, to my knowledge. Just UNH about the ash borer. And remember, there is the library's gonna have
Meeting.
a speaker on that the first Thursday at 9:30. Yep. You got this long thing from Southern Hampshire Planning of what they can provide for us with the roads and everything.
Yep.
This doesn't really have to do with you. We don't have any water. And then there was some correspondence back and forth with DRA and our assessor. Did you guys read all that?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
It appears that's been solved according to her response. I don't have anything in writing, but her response appears to have met what they wanted.
Per meeting.
Loris, yeah. And that's the only ones I just want to touch upon. There is one here that we talked about. Are you going to bring that up?
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave that alone then. I just thought we'd touch upon these briefly. And then the non-public at the end. That's all I have.
Just a reminder too that on September 16th, the Granite State Telephone will be holding the Hometown Hero
That's probably
Award.
what we got. I don't know, did everybody get one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Yes, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to kind of
No, I
announce it
didn't
on
get one,
the.
but okay, I knew about it anyway.
Yeah, I think it,
Yeah.
if you have a landline, you get one.
No, at home, yeah, I get a landline, so.
I don't.
It's a barbecue,
Yeah,
annual
I get
barbecue,
the
yeah,
notice of the
yeah.
barbecue.
But
That's from 11
Jen,
to 2.
Do what that appear in minutes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
again, I just wanted
I'm sorry, what was the time?
11
To
till
2?
2.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yep. And we have activities for the kids and.
Yeah, yep. That's all I had.
New business, I have some things I'd like to bring
Me
up,
too.
related to the town hall.
Okay.
The projects there. At the town meeting last year, there was an emphasis on looking at maybe the town hall as a project, but since it's there were so many different things, I'm thinking that we ought to look at specific pieces, for example, the tower, the bell tower, the replacement of the spires, and roofing on that as a project. And I'm suggesting that we go through CIP like anybody else and have a CIP article for this coming year for the replacement and rebuilding basically the top of that tower. And then maybe looking ahead, the following year perhaps have a warrant article for repair or replacement of the windows, because that's probably the second, if not the first, largest as far as expense. And the third big one, but one that we should get at right now, even if it's in pieces, is the replacement and repair of the rot before it goes any further, and the replacement of the corner boards. But what I want to bring up tonight, because CIP is starting their process tomorrow, and they have different department schedules, so I would ask to be put on that schedule with the board's permission to ask for a warrant article for that bell tower repair. And the other correspondence that Naomi has there is from Walker Roofing, and that is the company that did the tower at Clinton Road. And Sherry Burdick arranged for the person to come down, and I met with them, and we went up to the top of the tower. We took measurements and everything, and came up with a proposed number for re-roofing that. And I believe he's talking standing seam, but I think he means standing seam in copper, because we talked only about copper for the roofing, and then the repair of everything else that's there. So, I don't know if we want to bring that dollar amount up now, but.
I wouldn't, if you're gonna put it out to bid.
No,
Right.
but we should look at possibilities. We really have two estimates on that. One,
We just have to confirm that first one is still valid.
yeah, and then this one, which is a little less money, but it is from somebody that whose work we've seen on the Clinton Grove Academy.
I could just make one comment on that. Just remember, no means no. If you put that in a warrant article, you can't come back, and that means I don't think anybody can do any maintenance on it or any repairs. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be true whether it goes through the CIP project or whether it goes through as a warrant article from this board. I'm just thinking if it goes through CIP, then it goes to the planning board. Planning board usually passes it on without changes, but along the way, you're building up other voices and possibility of other support, so the more that it gets out to people, the more.
With the latest debacle with the highway garage, just keep that in mind. If no means no, that means you can't, government maintenance funds, you can't go, can't fix it.
I think though, if you're going to add money to it, if you're gonna add money to the government building money,
To the fund.
to the fund, for certain projects, I think this is what we got kind of shunned for last year. We didn't really have this project for this much, this project for this much, this project for this much. But if you're putting up money in the fund for anticipated projects, but that doesn't, what has happened in the past is the furnace is gone and other things have gone, so we haven't completed all those projects. Yes, if you specifically said, I'd like a warrant article for this much money for this, and it's no, I completely get that. But this, I'm guessing, would be an addition to an reserve fund that's got a broad base.
Okay, I just want to make that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I think, Naomi,
And that
we're
would go
talking
by
about two
legal
different
counsel.
things here.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, and.
You're talking a separate fund?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
talking about separate warrant article, and maybe you're right, maybe the board disagrees with that. But the problem that we had last year is people didn't want to put money into that without,
Knowing what it's going for.
Knowing that I had something specific.
It goes back to getting that money.
Now, we can go in different directions.
Sure.
We can ask them to add money to it, but
Who's
it's going to be a
taking it?
very substantial amount for the project. So where do we have the better chance of what we have?
Okay.
I mean, maybe tonight, would I just toss that out, so we think about it for, in our next meeting?
You'll have time, because if you want to get put on, you wouldn't be put on till near the end of September.
Yeah, so like the
Yeah.
26th of
Right.
September.
Right.
The only thing that, Tom, there's been all the talk about the spire, and I know that's your pet project, and I agree, but in the tower, but, there's rot all up and down the building. Now, the tower can be fixed, but if the sills in the bottom of that building are rotted, it's gonna come down around it, so all the money you just threw into it is throwing good money. I think, any project like that, I think you'd wanna start at the bottom and work your way up and see where, has anybody looked at the sills all the way around that building? And if there's rot in the corner boards and then near the bottom, usually there's rot into the sill work or any of the support membranes, and that's, I hate to see us spend money on the top and then,
Well, the sills across the front were repaired, replaced.
it's the front, but there's three other sides, so.
I think that,
And when you say around the doors, I mean, the sill is the whole part of the wood that the building sits
When
on.
were the floors redone?
Yeah.
I would have thought they would check the sills at that
Yeah,
time.
well,
and I think they did.
maybe,
You have to
but
go
I mean,
back.
I'd like to see it,
Tech Belt did the floor.
if there's rot on the outside, that usually means there's some type of water, and who knows if they're not, the integrity of them in a couple of years is not compromised. I mean, that's,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but, there, if you attack the corner boards, the rot around the cornice work, that's not gonna change if you find something underneath. You can solidify that, that's out in the open now. I'm kind of branching off here, but I think that's what we should approach with money that we have in the fund now.
But I think, I mean, depending on how much money we have left, I think that could get expired rather quickly.
Well, I mean, if you could, I mean, no one's gonna give you a price, because they can't even tell you.
Until they start cutting it off.
So if you allotted a certain amount of money to have somebody work on it, and then once it reached,
On an hourly basis to
and then they reach that point, then, you know what I mean?
Up to-
I don't know how much. I mean, you could take boards off and you could be really in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's-
what I'm saying, you're gonna
right.
spend it to fix the top, and then the rest of it's falling down around it. I mean, it's like, okay, we'll have
Pretty much good money, nothing.
we'll have the bell tower sitting on the ground someplace, and the rest of it's, you know.
I think the bell tower's out there,
frustrating thing
yeah.
here, Jack, the bell tower is really not a pet project.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, I mean, and I
It's an
use that-
example.
I use that, because
Looks
I mean,
like
that's one of the things that you spend seem to spend a lot of time, and I didn't
Well,
mean
it's
that
because
to
we don't
be
do it.
detrimental, it's just that's,
Now, this was May 4th, 2015, so
Right.
that's where we've
Right.
at. It's been over 2 years, and the stuff that's been done is so minor. And even some minor things, water deflection over the handicap door, all it's gonna take is
Piece of
a
flashing.
little, piece
Yeah.
of flashing, a little deflector, and it hasn't been done. The railing that was put up along the handicap ramp, it's all deteriorating, partly because of that water deflection, partly because it was never treated. Wasn't painted, wasn't treated. You know, the sign, they've done a beautiful job of the landscaping now in front there. We've gotten rid of all the old bushes that were ugly around the building that weren't kept up. But now the piece that sticks out is that sign, and I'd like to see some movement on that. The only things we've done, we've moved the handicap parking space, and we've relocated the no parking signs. We've gotten rid of those plantings, all very minor stuff. But anything that affects the integrity of the building, we haven't really done much on at all. So that's where my frustration is coming from. It doesn't matter where we start, but it's just that we gotta
Take
start.
action.
My only thing about the spires and things tonight was just to get people thinking about whether we want to do a separate warrant article for it, and whether or not we have a better chance of getting it approved if we did. So if we could just think about that, and if we want to go CIP route with it, then probably around the 26th of September, we have to make a presentation to CIP.
I mean, I'm good with, utilizing the CIP process. But I think the big thing that killed us last year was the fact that we really had no designation for the money we were asking. We had a list like the one in front of you, but we had no numbers, and we want to do this and we want to do that. But without any hard numbers or even estimates at that point, it's hard to make a sale, unfortunately. And I think that's really what hurt us the most last year on that particular warrant article. I think if we have valid quotes like the one that for the spires and the roof right there, and say this is what we have, and the approximate numbers are this, and this, and this is what we need to do, and this is why, and here's a picture.
Right.
I think we have a pretty good chance of it.
I think we ought to just do more than one warrant article. If you're gonna do the bell tower, I would put something in for the others as a
The
fallback.
windows is another one.
Windows, or even any of the rod around there, and have it get the firm numbers, at least.
Even if it's
they
3 or
vote-
4 articles.
Yeah. So
It is
we
what it
have
is.
4 articles.
Yeah, I'd try to get
If we,
as
instead of
many
putting our
numbers.
eggs in one basket,
Mhm.
whatever is, we may get, one may be, for instance, one may be $75,000 out of the account, another one may be $30,000. So I mean, at least we have a designated fund or a designated amount that we can present. That's like, that's.
And it
was
shows
the
that we've
biggest
done
thing to say.
our
Maybe
due
it was-
regard and done our research, and this is what we have. This is the best number we came up with for the research, and and then in the town mailer, make sure to write it up as such. It says why.
So we're not ambiguous, so we're gonna spend that money, the money's earmarked,
Right.
each one is.
And then, but still put in a number that's
My frustration, again, I go back to the same thing. If we don't do anything more this year, not even the minor things over there, then we're talking 3 years from the time we made this list until the time we get anything done. We only rely on whatever we get at next time
70.
meeting. So I think if we look at it in
Yeah,
different
you haven't
phases,
approved anything.
what can we do now with the money that we have in hand to get something stabilized over there? To me, that you look up and say, get somebody in there to really look at what's got to be done around the edges of the roof, and how deep that goes, and it may not be possible, Rick, to do that with the bidding process.
Well, for the windows, I think you can. And I
Oh,
think-
definitely.
And I think for the bell tower, I think you can. And probably for the sign, you can. But again, and I know that rot kind of, you can open up a bag of worms. And I totally.
Probably literally.
Literally, yeah. Well, yeah.
You could end up
Yeah,
with bugs.
yeah, exactly. Termites and who else knows. And that is one that, like you said, it could get away from us. But again, I think the other major items that are on that list, I think, could be absolutely bid out. But again, I would have to agree with Jack, the fact that, we really need to start from the base up and address the and John, I think you're going to have a new term that we're going to use, mission critical items that, because again, I don't like the appearance of the sign, but it's not, to me, mission critical. The rotting corner boards falling off, allowing water and environments to get in there. That's mission critical.
Handicap ramp.
Obviously, I agree with that.
Right.
Handicap rod.
But it also is a focal point in the center of town.
And I agree. And I agree.
And I think that, there's a certain pride in the community as well as, the stabilization of the building.
But I'd rather see the building standing and not the right rear corner falling off and a brand new sign.
Yeah.
Naomi, do you have the balance for that fund?
I don't tonight. It's
68,
almost 70.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact amount.
Okay.
Yeah, we still got some in the Mildred Hall fund for the town hall.
Yeah.
Not much.
Well, you just spent 65 of the 23, so.
Yeah, well, that's, probably a number I did, that's a lot.
Right. But the other thing is too is you don't want to extinguish the CRF either, because
No.
you don't know what's going to lose here and there and what's going to freeze. You got to keep that for a rainy day fund to an extent. I'm going to say you don't use what we got, but.
I guess
And the other thing is too.
a commitment to do something right away.
Right. No, I agree. I agree.
Why can't we look at that list and we've got about 17,000 left in that Mildred Hall fund.
Yeah.
Start
You
checking off
some of that
some of these
stuff.
stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
The ramp for the,
Yeah,
mission
the
critical
ramp
is the
we can do.
handicap ramp. If it's rotting and falling, it's
That's
ripping
bad.
in there.
Yeah. Save it while we got it.
Same as like the front here, but that's mission
Yeah.
critical, so somebody getting
Yeah.
hurt. So at that point,
Yeah.
that
Put that
should
little
be.
splash guard up there.
Yeah, put the splash guard-
Get
right.
somebody over there to do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It'd probably
for the
cost you
17,
about
absolutely.
$50 at the most,
Yeah.
probably
Right,
less.
yeah.
And then
Get
whatever
it
it
done.
costs to redo the ramp, and this time do pressure treated like we did out.
No, there is
front.
pressure treated. You just need to.
Right.
We
Just
did a
treat
couple
it.
years ago,
Just
just
treat it.
because
Sand it,
it's
sand it.
done.
I think you
just need to put something on it.
Treated
No.
We haven't treated it.
Just,
Power wash it and treat it. You probably spend about $100.
Well,
Yeah.
let's do
paint
it.
it like
Right. Let's do it.
we painted this ramp out here.
Yeah.
Can we start to gather quotes for that?
Are you?
As far
When you
as
say quotes,
Contact the person, if everybody did the outside here,
okay.
and ask what it would take
to fix that aspect of it,
Stabilize that.
the handicap ramp,
That handicap
treat-
ramp.
treating
Ramp
treating the
and
wood and or painting it the same way we did here, and the flashing. I would
Yeah.
assume that'd be one
And there are a
step.
couple of the, whatever you call them, ballasts?
Ballasters.
Ballasters.
Ballasters that
Yeah.
are warped
Why
because
why
it's-
couldn't he also check the sills? See how good they are. Even if he charges by the hour. We will know what they are.
I don't know if do they have any specialized equipment to do that. I don't know if there's any.
I know the
You
team
know,
engineer.
if
they
there's
did
a
mine
probe you
when
can
they
stick
did-
in
they
there for
did
moisture
different
content.
Probes and stuff to do.
Yeah.
They do have electronic.
You might want to look into that. Maybe having them come out and take a look at it and evaluate what we got.
At least,
Scripturally.
at least the sill. Just
Yeah,
a
because
sill.
I've been going through that in my own place,
Right.
in certain parts of the house.
Does
Right.
Primex have a building inspector or evaluator?
I don't think so, but I can ask. I just don't think there is one.
All right.
What if we just had a inspector, if you was buying a new house, you just
That's what team does, they come out
Yeah,
and
team
do
would come
home
and do that.
inspections, and they go through and do all that with the equipment.
Yeah, I think they could do that to the town hall.
And we've already
See what
got
they
Well, you don't
charge
mind
for
crawling in the
it.
dirt.
and we've already got an agreement with them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That list is, what, a couple of years old, it may not be a bad idea to go through that
Update it.
list and update
And
it.
update
too.
And that was just observations from the board, correct? Basically, that we put together?
Basically, it was observations that I had, and then we brought the board over and
Right.
verified it.
Right.
I wonder
Yeah.
how much it would cost to have a team go through the building.
Right.
Yeah, so we've already got
Yeah, maybe call them up and find out.
an agreement with them anyway.
Yeah. The one thing I guess I'm hesitant and a little cautious on is we didn't get the appropriation last year for the maintenance fund. Obviously, we're gonna put it as a warrant this year, but I wouldn't wanna spend a whole lot of it out of it under, say, 30,000 because of the fact of we need to make sure that, next year we get a replenishment in there, or, if we spend it too thin on the projects now and they say, no, next year,
I mean,
what
we have
do we have for rainy day?
we have a furnace, a
And
major
that's-
furnace replacement, I mean, and say in this building it would cost.
If you look at that, Rick, say $30,000, let's make sure we leave 30,000 in there. If we've got, over 15 left, around 15 left in Mildred Hall with the window installed.
17.
15,
Right.
17,000.
15,
Yeah.
17,000,
Yeah.
plus that leaves another 38,000 in this fund.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean it all has to go to this,
Right.
but that gives us a total of like $50,000.
No, I agree. I agree. I want to see the wheels start rolling on the projects as well, but I just want to keep in the back of our minds, if we don't get the 2018 warrant for the government buildings, for the maintenance fund, then we need to keep a little bit in there for.
Oh, absolutely.
So why don't we,
What's the intention of where the police locker room thing is? Where's that coming out of?
I think that was going to be the budgets, their budgets.
It is? Okay.
Okay. I mean, we haven't really talked about
But we
that.
really haven't
but-
talked about
That's
it.
kind of like a.
I'm waiting on
It
prices,
just seems
yeah.
as though every time
That's
we
a- that's
take
a-
money out
right
of
now
the
it's a
government
move.
building fund
Right.
for things, so.
And that's what I don't want
Just,
to.
right. so
I don't want to
think
run it
about
too
that.
low. I'm all good with going with the Mildred Hall Fund, absolutely, because that's what that was designated for.
Yeah.
And obviously it's got to be used and use it correctly.
Again, we gotta look at it and make sure we get all our ducks in a row too, because we don't wanna start going and spending the money and then find out we gotta go back and do it again.
so why don't we, if you could, between now and the next meeting, put some thought into the process that we want to use on the warrant. Do we want to go just through CIP
Yes.
with a specific thing, or do we simply want to document what we're going to spend it on and stick with the process we've used before, putting money into the fund, but saying, okay, we've got figures for
Well,
this, we've got figures for this. I was talking the CIP route with a specific warrant article because it seemed like that's what some local people were telling us
Mhm.
at the deliberative session last year.
And I think we should keep the government building fund, because it doesn't
Oh,
cover
yeah.
just that building, it covers all the buildings.
And
But I think that we should like they said, they said at the Watertown meeting last year, or the deliberative session, that we should have something specific for these projects, and just say, oh, we're gonna take some money out of that account. So, I mean, yeah, we should have not just one warrant article, we should put several.
Even
for
if the
these
warrant article
projects.
is just putting appropriate money into that fund
Yep.
to be expended, because you never know, the bid might change, might come in cheaper, kind of like the one we do the truck, highway equipment fund. It might come in cheaper, and I think that might be a great avenue to put it in there.
so what you're saying is a separate warrant article, but it
For
would be,
each, or some of them are for each project.
but it would
Right.
be to allot it to the building maintenance fund.
Kind
For
of
the
earmarked,
specific-
kind of earmarked for that
For the
specific.
town hall,
Yeah.
for this project.
And it uses a little bit of flexibility, in our judgment, to utilize that.
They could all pass, or they could say, well, no, we don't want to do
Right.
that, we'll give you this.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Instead of putting
at
all
least
into one.
Right.
you're not,
But I think that also kind of, and I don't want to say, avoids, but it kind of,
it'll also give them, it'll give us the.
I do think we have to be reasonable, because if you look at the history of some other departments who have asked for too much and gotten.
oh no, absolutely, right,
Right.
right.
But
I mean,
at
if
least
the
it's-
windows aren't, I mean, the end, I mean, I understand they need to be glazed, I understand they need to be done, but, you know, I'd rather see the rot done first, and if the bell tower is headed that route, with, you know, obviously we're putting a roof on it,
Yeah.
if that's headed to Rockville, then we need to put that on the,
Yeah.
you know, warrant too.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
whatever's red, put it on there.
I would include the clapboard repairs around the base of it in with any proposal.
It'd be a renovation of
Of the bell
tower,
tower, right.
not just the roof. It'd be-
Right.
You'd mark it as a renovation to
But
include.
that's fairly simple fix, it doesn't,
Right.
you know, just the clapboards are coming loose, get them nailed in place, get it painted over, and so on.
Right, but if that's deemed red, then let's do it, you know, let's put that on the warrant article type thing.
Let's just not put it on the back burner.
No.
Speaking of that, I don't want to put the janitor on the back burner either.
I wouldn't mark him as a janitor, I'd say a maintenance person.
Maintenance
You know,
person, yes.
A janitor is just one that sweeps up. I mean, you
Sweeps,
want
take
somebody
pressure.
that's gonna do some minor.
That's what I'm,
qualities.
yes.
Yeah, odds and ends and change toilet seats.
Specifically, like, I don't know, Tim, if you're aware that the door had to be fixed on Saturday up at the town hall, because, okay,
Well, those,
because it wouldn't shut.
they're dangerous.
Oh, I know,
was out of line.
yeah. So,
Those
I mean, the
doors
door
rats,
had to
so
be fixed.
Hinges are bent.
Well, what happens is it's not a lot of patience, and somebody gets really antsy, they can pull the door open without using a key.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
yeah.
And that's honestly what's been happening, because there's
I think so.
frustration and
With the
trying to
key.
make it work, so they just give it a yank.
Right.
Yeah, no.
And that's not
And
good.
that's why the Center Mullion is junk
Mhm.
too, so.
The other thing that happened up there was, they're required, or whoever's using it is required to clean it. Well, the last time the mops, I think, were clean was when they were washed by somebody in the Weare Historical Society, yes. And when we went to use them on Saturday to clean the building, they're filthy, absolutely filthy. And the sink that was repaired in, April, up there, that was out in the actual town hall room, has been in the closet now since, not the closet, but with all the stuff, so it's been there since. So I don't know whose
What are you
responsibility.
talking about,
The old one?
The sink, yeah.
The old sink though.
Still
That's the
there.
old thing.
So I don't know whose responsibility it is to take it out of there,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That would be like your maintenance person would say.
Exactly,
Let's bring
this
this
is-
to the dump.
Oh,
right,
these Debbie just like-
exactly, it's not up to here. And also out here, the walls and everything are really a mess in here. They need to be wiped down, washed down, or whatever. And I asked Naomi to see the cleaning contract today, and apparently there is none. With the current people that we're using, so I don't know whether that person would do that stuff too, or the maintenance
Well,
person.
I guess I mean, the sky's the limit, but where do you want to stop them?
Yeah.
You know, do you want
You
them out
want
there
me to
mowing the
maintenance,
lawn
or do you
too,
want
or?
them- Or do you want them doing
Yeah.
cleaning?
Well, I
I
don't
mean,
want them
I'm
mowing the
just-
lawn, no.
we should have a cleaning contract or something.
Well, I think
to
it's
clean
very
the walls.
similar to what Malcolm did.
I never knew Malcolm.
Okay, well, Malcolm did take care of most of the stuff. He did the trash.
Right.
He did the rugs.
And that's fine. I have no problem with somebody like that, but again, I just want to know how many hours. Is it part-time, is it full-time? And where does the where's the job description stop?
Yeah.
That's all I want. I mean, does it,
Why don't we
Well, I think that's what we
pull
need
out
to
the
talk
job
about, and
description
it's,
we've had for the previous person?
Okay.
And start with that as
Yeah.
discussion.
Right, absolutely.
Yep, I think that's what
Yeah.
we'll have to
And then if we want to add to it, then we
do.
can.
Yeah.
add to it.
Right.
I see no reason to not
No, I don't either.
combine. The
right,
person can do the cleaning, but also be the person who keeps an eye on things that need repaired.
because they'd be here, like
do
more on a daily basis, because he was here daily.
Right. No, I agree.
And I think we're paying $650 a week now.
A month.
Oh, a month, yeah. I'm sorry,
week.
yes,
A week
you're
I'm
right.
in.
Yes.
I'll do
Where
it.
do I
That was
sign?
pretty good, I'd take the
Yeah,
job.
where do I
No.
sign, huh? Yeah.
650 a week, yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm all set as long as we got we stimulated the discussion and.
I think there's been quite a bit of that, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. with great intensity again 2 weeks from
Okay.
Anything else on the other business? If not, then we're going to adjourn and going into non-public under RSA 91A 3:2 A and C.
Second.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
And I just want to take a break.